Long Chen felt like there was a seed within each of his 108,000 acupuncture points now. Although it was just starting to bud and hadn't sprouted, he felt boundless energy coming out of them, giving him immense strength. The 108,000 seeds were transforming his body. A cycle of energy formed throughout his acupuncture points. With his 4 C's as the primer, the acupuncture points were all connected. He felt his spiritual yuan rumbling within him. This is the power of the foundation forging realm? It's absolutely terrifying. The method I bet on really was right. The 9-star He Gem body art is cultivated just like this. Long Chen was so thankful that he almost wept tears. In his life, his luck was so terrible that everything he did ended up with twists and turns. But this time, he had finally won a gamble. To put it in his words, the heavens really were blind. With this immense power surging within him, he felt possessed by a god of war. Those terrifying lightning monsters were all destroyed with a single punch each. After they were destroyed, they would try to reform. But naturally Long Chen wasn't so stupid as to just allow them to reform. Lei Long didn't foolishly waste its energy fighting these lightning monsters. It directly went to devour their remnants. Once Lei Long devoured them, they couldn't reform. Long Chen fought against them for several hours. He only became fiercer, and eventually, their numbers began to drop and Lei Long's aura continued to increase. Just like Huolong, it no longer continued to grow, instead maintaining a 30,000-meter body. Once the final lightning monster was killed, countless figures once more descended from the sky. They were ancient heroic spirits. Legends said that they were heavenly geniuses who had fallen in their heavenly tribulations. Their unyielding wills had caused them to transform into heroic spirits, and they were controlled by the heavenly Taoists to kill others undergoing tribulation. Long Chen met the first one with his fist. The ancient heroic spirit's upper body exploded, while Long Chen was knocked back hundreds of meters. The ancient heroic spirit's body quickly recovered, and it once more rushed toward him. At this time, a huge spear came piercing toward Long Chen's back. Long Chen fiercely smashed his fist on that spear. Borrowing the energy of that collision, he flew out, dodging the other ancient heroic spirit's attacks. He suddenly felt a burst of pain on his back when a lightning arrow pierced through him. He saw a distant ancient heroic spirit holding a bow. This arrow had come silently without warning. It was clearly imbued by a kind of magical art that made it difficult to dodge. These ancient heroic spirits were the top heavenly geniuses of their generations. Although their power had dropped greatly after being turned into this state, they had been peak geniuses in their lifetimes. They had been killed during their foundation forging tribulations. That was because they had refused to comply with the heavenly Taoists during their tribulations. Their refusal to submit had caused them to be destroyed. Those who dared to resist the heavenly Taoists all had to be stunning geniuses. Now, hundreds of them were surrounding Long Chen. "Fuck off!" Long Chen snorted coldly, directly calling back Lei Long, as it was unable to devour these ancient heroic spirits. Now, a huge lightning blade appeared in Long Chen's hands. Lei Long's own combat power wasn't high enough, but when transformed into a lightning blade and connected with Long Chen's spiritual yuan, it was completely different. Holding the lightning blade, Long Chen charged toward an ancient heroic spirit and let out a simple slash. The weapon it was holding shattered, and the ancient heroic spirit was split in two. As soon as it was destroyed, a huge flame dragon appeared and swallowed it into its stomach. Although Huolong was powerful, there wasn't much contradiction between lightning and fire. Thus, it was unable to fight effectively against them. But it was precisely because of this lack of contradiction that once Huolong devoured the ancient heroic spirit's destroyed body, its energy would be isolated from the outside world's heavenly Taoists. It would be unable to reform, and once devoured, Huolong would return within Long Chen's body and send the energy to Lei Long. Lei Long would essentially devour the ancient heroic spirit's divine runes. Long Chen could clearly sense the lightning blade in his hands grow stronger after Lei Long had devoured the ancient heroic spirit's runes. Just a single ancient heroic spirit was immensely beneficial to Lei Long. Holding the lightning blade, he crazily attacked the ancient heroic spirits. They weren't just powerful, they also possessed combat experience. Fighting against them was difficult, as they lacked openings. While he was surrounded, he could only fight them head-on. Practically each time he killed one, he would have to receive an attack from the others. There was one time his head was almost struck by an arrow. After killing that one, he summoned Huolong's split bodies. Although they were unable to cause any damage to these ancient heroic spirits, they could slow them down a bit. One of those flame dragons entangled the archer ancient heroic spirit. That ancient heroic spirit was unable to escape Huolong's entanglement, and as a result, it was killed with one blow from Long Chen. With Huolong's help, Long Chen had it much easier. He was no longer forced to repeatedly fall back and was now able to attack and defend properly. Each time an ancient heroic spirit was killed, it would be devoured by a flame dragon and sent to Lei Long. Long Chen felt the lightning blade in his hand expressing its joy. Lei Long was growing stronger and stronger, and now, the ancient heroic spirit's weapons would explode upon contact with it. After 2 hours, the final ancient heroic spirit was killed. Long Chen was covered in blood, but he didn't circulate the primal chaos bead to heal. He guessed that now that he had advanced to foundation forging, the iron spruce oaks would only be able to offer him a single full recovery. He didn't dare to tap into their energy before he had to. Fortunately, after advancing to foundation forging, his acupuncture points actually had the effect of nourishing his injuries. Although it wasn't so far as to allow him to rapidly recover, he could at least bear these injuries. A fierce rumble came from his lightning blade. Long Chen was startled and delighted. Lei Long was now also able to send Long Chen spiritual messages. Although it was a bit muddled and wasn't as clear as Huolong, he knew that Lei Long was also close to transforming as well. Just at this moment, lightning chains descended from the sky. "You want to bind me? Idiot, you think I'd fall for the same trick twice? Split the heavens too." Long Chen snorted and slashed his saber. He had almost died because of these chains in the immemorial path. Once bound, it would be extremely troublesome. The lightning blade slashed through the air, shattering the lightning chains that were incredibly weak in front of it. They transformed into runes and began to fade. "Want to run? Keep dreaming." Long Chen continuously destroyed the lightning chains. Each time he attacked, he used the second form of Split the Heavens. This was the most powerful blow he could unleash instantaneously. The lightning chains were rapidly destroyed, and 8 flame dragons crazily devoured their remnants. Others only know that Long Chen is strong, but they don't know that he has no choice but to be strong, sighed the Xian master. From Long Chen's calm expression, he could tell that this terrifying tribulation was something he had long since been prepared for. He had clearly endured such a thing more than once. For him to be able to survive such terrifying tribulations was essentially a miracle in itself. Just how much hardship did he have to go through to create such miracles over and over again? Only he himself knew. If Long Chen wasn't strong, there would no longer be a Long Chen in this world, nor would there be a Dragonblood Legion. He's similar to a legendary Heaven Caesar. They snatch heaven and earth's luck and destiny for themselves. But Heaven Caesars are always isolated figures, natural unlucky stars fated to always be alone. But Long Chen has so many allies and so many brothers and sisters by his side. It's different from the legends. Curious. The Xian master couldn't help being a bit puzzled. After wiping out the chains, Long Chen suddenly pointed his blade toward the sky. A terrifying aura caused the world to shake. "Split the heavens 3. Long Chen roared furiously, his lightning saber unleashing divine rumbling. The Xian master's pupils shrank. This attack of Long Chen's caused the very sky to be split. A large opening appeared in the tribulation clouds. It was like a granary had been cut open. Endless lightning poured out toward Long Chen. Long Chen had originally just been venting a bit. It was too depressing to be constantly suppressed by heavenly tribulation, so when he finally had a chance to counterattack, he took it. He hadn't expected to get such a result. Time to eat. 8 flame dragons charged towards the lightning runes. Those were the purest essence of the tribulation. But there were too many lightning runes. The flame dragon's stomachs inflated like balloons before they returned to Long Chen's body. Spitting out their contents to Lei Long, they charged out once more. The huge cut quickly healed. Heaven and earth trembled intensely as if the world was infuriated. But after this attack, the tribulation clouds had clearly grown less dense. A great deal of their essence had entered Lei Long's body. Boom! Suddenly, the tribulation clouds exploded. A figure holding a halberd appeared in front of Long Chen. It was a person, a true person. He looked just like someone made of flesh and blood. The only difference was that his pupils contained 2 flashing lightning runes. As soon as that person appeared, Long Chen's heart shook and his hair stood on end. This person was extremely dangerous. Those who defy the heavens will all be destroyed by the heavenly Taos. In front of the mandate of the heavens, face your death. That halberd-wielding man actually spoke, causing the distant Xian master's pupils to shrink. This strange person was actually able to speak. Its voice was harsh, not at all like a person's voice. It was more like the transmission of a mental message. When that figure spoke, Long Chen was startled, while the Xian master was even more startled. He's not an Empyrean, nor is he a heaven Caesar. He's the most domineering type amongst all heavenly geniuses, a heaven defier. The Xian master looked at Long Chen with absolute shock. Empyreans, heaven Caesars, and heaven defiers were all legendary existences. It was rare to find a single one in 10,000 years. The latter especially was something that was only rumored to exist within legends. Empyreans were born in times of calamity. They were the result of the heavens' will, birthed to fight against upcoming catastrophe. Or perhaps in times when the world was in great chaos, when a supreme power was about to be exterminated, there was a chance of an Empyrean appearing. These Empyreans would all rise like shooting stars. Bringing order to chaos, they fought against a crazy tide and were existences that stood at the peak of the martial path. As for heaven Caesars, they were a domineering type of divergence. The people they killed would have their karmic luck snatched away by them, and that allowed the heaven Caesars to grow exceptionally quickly. However, these legendary heaven Caesars were all innately cold and tended to side toward brutal slaughter. Now, whenever someone encountered such a divergent, the world had to bring out their full power to eliminate them to prevent disaster. There were 2 records of powerful heaven Caesars that had emerged from the martial heaven continent. Those 2 times had caused immense turmoil on the continent, because in the end, those heaven Caesars had sided with the corrupt path and undertaken a slaughter of the righteous path, causing them to take heavy casualties. So later, the righteous path had made a decree that if any sect took in a heaven Caesar and raised them instead of eliminating them, the entire righteous path would become their enemy. As a result, in the last tens of thousands of years, any fellows suspected to be heaven Caesars had been killed. Other than these 2 legendary existences, there was an even more terrifying existence. Heaven Defier. The information about heaven defiers was limited to legend, and their very existence was in defiance of the heavens. They were enemies of the heavenly Taos, refusing to submit to the heavens' will. Each time they broke through barriers, they would be sensed by the heavenly Taos, which would then do anything they could to destroy them. There was a saying that such people should have never existed within the world. Their fundamental existence was a mistake, so they had to be eliminated. There was another saying that if a heaven defier managed to grow, they would one day be able to threaten the heavenly Taos and overturn heaven and earth. As a result, the world would unleash a destructive heavenly tribulation on them whenever they advanced. It was no wonder the Xian master had felt it was odd that this tribulation hadn't even had any life energy. Even heaven Caesars should have had some life energy in their tribulations. Looking at the tribulation Long Chen was undergoing, he knew this wasn't something a person should be able to pass. This was a heavenly punishment. But Long Chen had survived. Now that this strange figure had appeared, the Xian master became a bit uneasy. He sensed powerful energy fluctuations from this figure. Fuck your heavenly Taos, and fuck your will of the heavens. You want to annihilate me, so am I supposed to just obediently lie here for you? Are you an idiot? Cursed Long Chen. He asked himself when he had ever offended anyone. He was candid and open with what he did, and he never did anything he felt guilty about. But the heavens always wanted to exterminate him. He had long since begun holding a stomach full of anger. Elimination is your only ending. That figure icily gave him a reply before its halberd suddenly caused space to shake. Lightning erupted out of it, and it smashed toward Long Chen. Long Chen hadn't been the slightest bit careless. He was completely focused, knowing that this figure had to be absolutely terrifying. Boom! Lightning exploded. Long Chen almost vomited blood as he shot back like a shooting star and created a long ditch on the ground. What terrifying power! Long Chen was shocked. He hadn't thought that a random blow from this lightning incarnation would possess such power. He was just about to stand when he felt something odd behind him. His hair stood on end, and a sensation of mortal danger filled his heart. Without even thinking about it, he shot to the side. Blood flew as a long cut appeared on Long Chen's back. He had almost been pierced through the heart. If that halberd pierced him, he would very likely be instantly killed. He had only just dodged when, without even thinking about it, he swung his lightning blade behind him. Boom! His lightning blade smashed against the halberd, and he was once more sent flying. How can it be this fast? Long Chen roared furiously inside as he flipped through the air. This speed was outside his understanding. Long Chen was repeatedly blown back without even being able to see his opponent. He could only rely on his other senses to block, and he coughed up blood over and over again. The Grand Tao is formless, the Grand Tao is emotionless, sand covers the desert, and all things have spirits. Just as Long Chen was forced into a miserable state, the Shen Master's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. The Shen Master had only just finished when his expression changed. A formless pressure gathered in the air and shot towards him. Boom! The Shen Master's avatar exploded. Within a private room of the Shen Tian Dao sect, the sitting Shen Master's eyes suddenly flew open. How close! If I hadn't self-destructed my divine will, I would have been caught by the heavenly Daos. Then it would have been really troublesome. The Shen Master slowly closed his eyes once more, and a strand of his divine will once more appeared in the abyss. He wasn't at all assured of Long Chen's condition. The Grand Tao is formless, the Grand Tao is emotionless, sand covers the desert, and all things have spirits? Long Chen repeated this phrase again. So that's what's going on. The Grand Tao is formless, making it difficult to capture their substance. The Grand Tao is emotionless, making it difficult to capture their intent. Sand covers the desert? Fuck, no wonder I can't fight it, this entire place is filled with lightning. This is its domain, and it can freely move within it with basically no spatial limitations. No matter how far I dodge, as long as I remains within this lightning domain, it can reach me instantly. All things have spirits. What is that supposed to mean? Long Chen immediately understood the first 3 points, but that last part was too vague. How was that supposed to relate to his situation? Boom! Long Chen was once more sent flying by a heavy impact. This time, a nick appeared in his lightning blade. Long Chen felt Lei Long's pain. All things have spirits. Long Chen suddenly closed his eyes as he flipped through the air. He used Lei Long's senses to view the world. In that instant, Long Chen was no longer blind. The world became incomparably clear, and he saw the lightning incarnation. It had already appeared behind him, its halberd raised in the air. Now I've got you. Green Dragon Battle Armor. Green scales covered Long Chen's body. A powerful aura surged into the sky, and the terrifying pressure caused the ground to crack. This was Long Chen's first time using the Green Dragon Battle Armor since advancing to foundation forging. The essence blood in his body was like ignited gunpowder. It was like endless energy was erupting within him. Die! Long Chen roared. His spiritual yuan, essence blood, and spiritual strength all poured into Lei Long. The lightning blade unleashed blinding light as it slashed at the lightning incarnation. Boom! The halberd and lightning blade slammed together, and the ground exploded. But neither party was forced back by the other. Long Chen suddenly raised his head and laughed uproariously. Spiritual yuan swelled throughout his 108,000 acupuncture points, and that vast energy poured out of him. The lightning incarnation was still emotionless. As Long Chen poured in more energy, the lightning in the air was absorbed by the lightning incarnation. In the end, there wasn't the slightest sign of any lightning tribulation in the air. Boom. But the two of them were still clashing all out. The ground was constantly being blown apart, forming a pit that continuously grew. The two of them were now fighting in an empty space. At first, this empty space had been filled with lightning. But those lightning runes had condensed until they were a small ball as bright as the blazing sun. Boom. Finally, that sun exploded. Two figures shot out and then once more attacked each other. Each time they collided, it was a heaven-shaking collision. The terrain was constantly changing as the two of them flew through the air like meteors. This intense fight continued for 2 hours. Heaven and earth had been completely toppled. Suddenly, the halberd pierced Long Chen's chest. Cracks spread throughout his body, but Long Chen's lightning blade had also pierced the lightning incarnation's body. Explode! Long Chen suddenly shouted. The cracks spreading around his body instantly healed, while his lightning blade exploded. Long Chen had actually detonated his lightning blade, and the lightning incarnation's body also exploded with it, transforming into a sky full of runes. Quick, devour them, cough. 8 flame dragons shot out, devouring those lightning runes. Those runes didn't just belong to the lightning incarnation, but also Lei Long's self-destruction was essentially throwing away half its life. But Long Chen had had no other choice. He hadn't been able to continue so intensely any longer. With that last exchange when the halberd had pierced his chest, he had almost exploded. Long Chen had completely unleashed all the primal chaos space's life energy to contain and heal that injury, as well as to bear the power of Lei Long's self-destruction. But as a result, when the lightning incarnation had exploded, its halberd had also exploded in his body. If he hadn't healed back to his peak in that instant, he would have died. Even so, there was a large bloody hole in his chest, and his face was as pale as paper. He panted for breath. This was his most miserable lightning tribulation. It had been too monstrous, and he had almost died. He swallowed a healing pill to suppress his injuries. Just as all the lightning runes in the air were devoured by Hualong and he was about to leave, black mist suddenly appeared at the end of the abyss, and a figure slowly materialized in the air, one with skin as white as snow and a pair of ocean blue eyes. She icily stared at Long Chen. "You? Why would you appear here?" Long Chen's jaw dropped. That beautiful figure was perfect, with curves where there should be curves, but no excess curves elsewhere. There wasn't the slightest bit of her appearance that should be changed. A face like jade, bright eyes like sapphires, an image of the peak of beauty. Her face had reached the level of perfection. Even each hair of her left and right eyebrows matched perfectly. That was a kind of beauty that shouldn't exist in this world. Only one person possessed such an image, the Devil Empress Leng Yuan. "Leng Yuan, why are you here? Wait, when did you grow to this extent? You wouldn't want to kill me, right?" Long Chen looked in shock at Leng Yuan. It had only been just over a year since they had left the immemorial path. Long Chen had just reached foundation forging, but he found that he still had to look up to her. He wasn't even able to comprehend her current cultivation base. She was floating in the air, black clouds surging around her. The space around was constantly splitting and healing. She looked at Long Chen like she was a god, giving Long Chen a blow. Was the difference between them really so great now? Divergence of heaven and earth are in defiance of the heavens. Thy bravery is admirable, but those in violation of the netherworld will not be recorded within it. This woman's voice was just as beautiful as her appearance. But what shocked Long Chen was that as she spoke, the world seemed to echo what she was saying, as if the world was prostrating itself to her. By being here, she became the ruler of the world. The distant Shen master was filled with shock as he looked at her. Long Chen simply didn't know who she was because he hadn't reached that height yet. "Hey, after leaving the immemorial path, did you give up the martial path for literature? Why are you speaking like that?" asked Long Chen. "Thou hast the wrong person," she said. "Really? You're someone else?" Long Chen was stunned. He carefully looked at her. That perfect face, that perfect body, she was essentially the same as Leng Yuan. He wondered if the feeling would be the same as well. Perhaps if he could just have a touch, he would be able to tell that she really wasn't Leng Yuan. Back then, Leng Yuan had nestled against him in a cave. He definitely would be able to tell if the feeling of her skin was the same, or if she smelled the same. Perhaps that was an innate skill he had learned from Little Snow. Blasphemy! Long Chen had only just thought about whether he should try it when the woman shouted coldly. The space around her exploded, and a huge sword fell toward him. In that instant, Long Chen was filled with horror. This sword was completely destroying space as it fell. It was unblockable, unavoidable. Even in his peak state, he would only be able to watch as he was killed, let alone in his injured state. Just as he thought he was dead, an ancient bronze mirror appeared in the air. The ancient mirror's runes lit up, making it brighter than the sun. It unleashed a huge light barrier around Long Chen. That huge sword instantly rebounded upon striking the barrier and slashed back toward the woman. Boom! She waved a hand, and the huge sword exploded. With a cold snort, she was just about to attack once more when the light of the mirror fell onto Long Chen. He and the mirror both vanished. She glared at the air. Boundless energy was currently gathering there. She icily stared for a moment before she vanished back into the spatial channel. Once she was gone, that rapidly gathering energy slowly dissipated as if nothing had happened. Long Chen had thought he was dead. Sensing he had been saved, his weary, broken body finally couldn't endure any longer. He fainted. Within the endless darkness, he waited a long time, but that voice didn't appear again. That voice would appear every time he descended in this darkness, but it didn't appear this time. Furthermore, he didn't sense the pill formula that should have appeared. He didn't know how long had passed, but he eventually opened his eyes. He saw that he was lying on the ground, while the Shen Master was sitting in meditation near him. When he opened his eyes, the Shen Master's eyes also opened. Long Chen hastily sat up. He found that all his injuries had already healed. "Many thanks for saving me, Shen Master," said Long Chen. The Shen Master looked at Long Chen oddly. After a long moment, he said, "You're a real man." He, Shen Master overpraises me. This lightning tribulation dash. Long Chen wanted to say some humble words. "I'm not talking about your lightning tribulation. I'm talking about that woman. You actually were able to form such a desire toward a god." "You have guts," said the Shen Master with a mixed expression. The Shen Master's cultivation base was far above Long Chen's. He didn't even need to intentionally probe his spiritual fluctuations to tell what he was thinking. So he said Long Chen had guts, almost too much so. To dare want to commit that kind of blasphemy against a god, he was truly a man. "A god? That's impossible, I know her," said Long Chen. "This world is aplenty with two people who look the exact same. Let alone just two, there are dozens of people who can look the same. Fortunately, her true body didn't come, otherwise, even using the reincarnation mirror, I wouldn't be able to bring you out alive," said the Shen Master. "Ah!" Long Chen couldn't help being flabbergasted. How was this possible? She looked exactly like Leng Yuan, and their icy temperament was identical. Even their auras had been strikingly similar. "Long Chen, you've opened my eyes to the world. Being able to personally see the existence of a god was extremely helpful to me," said the Shen Master gratefully. He had seen many things he once hadn't even imagined from that icy woman. It was very helpful to his enlightenment. Long Chen was still blankly staring. If that woman really was a god, then he really was a man. "Shen Master, what is a god?" asked Long Chen. The Shen Master sank into thought for a while before saying, "All you need to know is that gods aren't as sacred and holy as you imagine. In truth, it is just a kind of realm. In the immortal era, gods and immortals were not rare. But now, the world has declined and they only exist in legends. As for the exact details, when you reach that realm, you'll naturally learn of it. Before your power has reached that point, learning these kinds of secrets in advance will just add karma. And this karma, it always settles its bill with you during your heavenly tribulations." Saying that, the Shen Master's voice was a bit heavy. Long Chen's heart was also heavy. In truth, he should definitely have died to this tribulation. If he hadn't pierced the heavens and unleashed a huge amount of thunder force, that final lightning incarnation would have been even more terrifying. Fuck, if I can't start condensing the fifth star, I'll definitely die next time, thought Long Chen worriedly. But right now, he didn't know what the problem was. There wasn't the slightest sign of the fifth star. But fortunately, he had managed to enter the foundation forging realm. His gamble had paid off. Others had their immortal platforms in their dantians, but he had his in his acupuncture points. 108,000 acupuncture points equaled 108,000 immortal platforms. Now that he was fully recovered, he felt an unprecedented strength flowing within him. You can go for now. Remember, keep everything secret, including that god. Don't talk about it to anyone. If you tell anyone, all you'll be doing is harming them, said the Xian master. Disciple understands. Long Chen returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain. Everything was very calm. When Long Chen had disappeared from their midst, the Xian master had simply said that he had been summoned to his side because of his great merit in battle. Boss, you've advanced to foundation forging? Guoran and the others were stunned. As soon as Long Chen returned, the calm of Crouching Dragon Mountain was broken. They had all been waiting for him. The higher-ups had already announced that all the devil beasts had been eliminated by the stronghold. At the same time as everyone felt a burst of relief, they couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. Now that the infernal devil abyss had been quelled, there were no more devil beasts for them to kill. That signified there wouldn't be so many points for them in the future. They would only be able to complete a few of the sect's missions for points now. As the saying went, it was easy to get used to luxury when you were poor, but hard to become frugal after being rich. Now, no one dared to spend as many points as before. Boss, did the Xian master give you special treatment? You've already advanced to foundation forging. Currently, Long Chen's aura was still leaking out since he had only just advanced and he was unable to control it perfectly. Yup, it can count as some special treatment. He gave me some pointers that benefited me greatly, so that's why it took so long for me to return, said Long Chen. In truth, the last few days, Long Chen had been unconscious, with 6 of the Healing Hall's elders spending all their energy to heal him. His injuries had been so heavy that it had taken them 3 days to heal him. Wow, the Xian Master's personal pointers. Boss, are you about to ascend to the heavens? Cried Guoran. Are you trying to curse me? Why don't you put it more directly and tell me to rest in peace? No, boss, you misunderstand. I was just wondering if the Xian Master had taken you in as an apprentice and passed his legacy on to you. Has he chosen you to be the future successor of the Shantian Dao sect? Guoran's eyes were shining with anticipation. It seemed he was already imagining how amazing and grand it would be for him once Long Chen was the Xian Master. In truth, the Xian Master had truly said the following to Long Chen: I was originally planning on raising you as my successor, but since you dare to even blaspheme a god, I've decided to forget about it. A little place like the Shantian Dao sect probably can't handle your craziness. Once Long Chen returned, they had another feast, with the Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild also joining in. The Heaven Female Alliance actually brought their own food and drink as congratulations. One reason was to celebrate their accomplishments during the battle, while another was to celebrate that Long Chen was the first to break through to foundation forging amongst the new disciples. What surprised Long Chen was that even Su Mo and Mu Qingxian came. Long Chen, congratulations on advancing to foundation forging. In the future, we'll be fighting side by side. Don't forget to look after your senior apprentice sister, said Mu Qingxian with a smile. Looking after my senior apprentice sister is fine, but I know 2 women who might have opinions on that, said Long Chen. When he said he would look after her, he intentionally raised his eyebrows at her in a flirtatious manner. Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er immediately turned red and hit him. On the other hand, Mu Qingxian laughed and said, You have quite the appetite. Everyone knew Long Chen was joking. That last battle had just been too bitter. Even dozens of foundation forging experts had died. Just being able to live was something worth being happy about. Everyone drank and ate. It was very lively, and everyone enjoyed themselves to their heart's content. Long Chen finally fell asleep soundly as he held 2 beautiful women. As the host of yesterday's party, Long Chen naturally couldn't slip away in the middle. After his wild bout of drinking, he didn't even know how he had returned to his room. In any case, he seemed to remember holding two soft bodies and sleeping more peacefully than he ever had before. In the morning, a startled cry roused Long Chen from his slumber. He got up just in time to see Meng Qi and Tang Wan running away. Long Chen was startled, but then he found that a certain place was bulging like a high mountain, looking like it had an urge to pierce heaven and earth. A natural phenomenon, a natural phenomenon. Long Chen laughed and took a deep breath. Calming himself down, that natural phenomenon slowly disappeared. Jumping off his bed, he still smelled Meng Qi and Tang Wan's scents. The sun was shining on the bed through the window. It was quickly approaching midday. Lazily stretching, he heard some crackling sounds from his body. He felt full of power, like a volcano that wanted to erupt. He knew that this was the effect of having just advanced to foundation forging and not being able to suppress his aura. Looking within himself, he jumped in shock. 108,000 original runes? Long Chen saw that there was a small seed in each one of his acupuncture points. Those seeds were slowly developing. They were crazily absorbing heaven and earth's energy, but he didn't see them growing. After some careful sensing, he was startled to find that these seeds were only absorbing 1/10,000th of the energy they were sucking in. The rest was being rejected. So that's what it is. The foundation forging realm revolves around absorbing the world's purest Yuan spiritual energy. No wonder it is said that Yuan spirit stones are the lifeline of this realm. Long Chen suddenly realized what was going on, and why being in possession of Yuan spirit stones in the eastern wasteland had caused the ancient family alliance, ancient races, and Pill Valley to be so shameless. Fortunately I didn't sell these back then, or I'd have lost out. Now Long Chen understood how important Yuan spirit stones were. He looked inside the primal chaos space and saw Lei Long. It was condensed into a ball of light, looking like an egg. The self-detonation last time had been extremely harmful to Lei Long. Right now, it was using all the thunder force gained from the tribulation to undergo a rebirth. Long Chen couldn't help being stunned by Lei Long and Hua Long's intelligence. It seemed the stronger they became, the more they advanced in other aspects as well. Hua Long had even awakened its own innate ability. Hua Long's innate ability was to summon 8 split bodies. He wondered whether Lei Long would awaken an innate ability once it revived through this nirvanic rebirth. He was full of anticipation. All the iron spruce oaks in the primal chaos space were withered and dead. He had been forced to be decisive back then when he had killed the final lightning incarnation of his tribulation. The reasons he had been able to escape his death this time were twofold. One reason was how he had caused the tribulation to lose a great deal of its energy by attacking it, making the final lightning incarnation weaker, while the other reason was that the iron spruce oaks contained an ocean's worth of life energy. If it hadn't been for that, he would have definitely died. But now, he didn't have any magical beast corpses for the black soil. He had tried using the corpses of the devil beasts, and while he found that they could be devoured by the black soil, they didn't provide any life energy. Otherwise, his iron spruce oaks would have long since grown to their peak. Leaving his room, he saw that Meng Qi and Tang Wan had already freshened up. They had prepared a towel soaked in hot water, allowing Long Chen to sit back and relax while Tang Wan used the towel to clean his face and Meng Qi combed his hair. Long Chen felt so blessed that he might die. 2 peerlessly beautiful women were helping him clean his face and comb his hair. He didn't know how many people would die of envy if they learned of it. Long Chen, why aren't you talking? Normally, your mouth spouts so much nonsense, asked Tang Wan upon seeing Long Chen's infatuated expression. This is a rare pleasure. I'm afraid if I open my mouth, you'll stuff the towel into it. That would be a waste, said Long Chen with his eyes still closed. Putting it like this, he elicited laughter from both Meng Qi and Tang Wan. It was like the tinkling of silver bells. After laughing, Tang Wan grumbled, "Who asked you to be so annoying that people want to choke you after you open your mouth? You deserve all your punishment." Long Chen immediately shut his mouth and continued enjoying this warm peace. After being cleaned and dressed, Long Chen felt much more awake. Looking in the mirror, he couldn't help but sigh emotionally. Now that he thought about it, it seemed it had been many years since he had looked at his reflection. His eyes might be able to see through anything, but without a mirror, they couldn't see himself. His face was still youthful, and still full of vigorous energy. But the depths of his eyes concealed a cold sharpness. This was his first time looking so closely at himself. Or perhaps it was that he was viewing himself from the point of an observer. He saw something within the depths of his eyes that made even himself afraid. "What, are you struck stupid by your handsomeness?" teased Tang Wanner upon seeing him blankly staring at his reflection. Only then did Long Chen recover. Was he afraid of himself? Long Chen. Suddenly, a woman walked in. The only other one able to freely enter his residence was Qin Yu. "Sister Qin Yu, please sit." Tang Wanner immediately pulled her over to a seat. Qin Yu was originally Tang Wanner's maid, but the two of them were closer than sisters. Although Qin Yu liked to nag, she cared deeply for Tang Wanner, making it so Tang Wanner both loved and feared her. "Why didn't you come out earlier? There are many things waiting for you to do. Think about how old you are, when will you?" Long Chen, Meng Qi, and Tang Wanner all bitterly smiled. Once more, Qin Yu was lecturing them. In truth, she had been waiting for them to come out to get to business. After all, as a woman, it wasn't convenient for her to barge into his room. But seeing that it was noon and the three of them still hadn't come out, she finally entered. "Sister Qin Yu, what's so important?" Long Chen quickly interrupted her, or if they let a chatterbox like Qin Yu continue, she could lecture them for 3 days and nights. Furthermore, not one sentence of her script would be repeated. That was the most painful torture. "Of course there's something important. Otherwise, why would I have waited 6 hours just for you? It's not that I'm chiding you but Sister Qin Yu, the important matter, get to the important matter." Long Chen quickly brought her back to the main topic. Right now, everyone in the Dragonblood Legion is at the peak of sea expansion. Many people have already touched the barrier of foundation forging, but without your orders, no one dares to break through. Other than the Dragonblood Legion, the disciples from the other factions have already started breaking through. Furthermore, there's a piece of bad news. The Xiantian Dao sect's 9-ring foundation building pills are sold out, said Qin Yu. "How could such an important pill be out of stock?" demanded Tang Wanner. The 9-ring foundation building pill was practically a must-have for sea expansion experts attacking foundation forging. With the 9-ring foundation building pill, a cultivator could condense their original rune easier, making their breakthrough much simpler. Furthermore, there were no side effects. It was a very important pill. Long Chen was also surprised. But he quickly sneered. "Were they all bought by certain people?" Qin Yu nodded. "Yes, the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall both used the excuse of wanting to be completely sure about their disciples' breakthroughs and bought 2 sets of foundation building pills for their members. So all the 9-ring foundation building pills have been sold, and if we want any, we'll have to wait a certain amount of time. Furthermore, if we want a large amount, it probably won't be a short waiting time. The 10,000 Insect Guild and Heaven Female Alliance didn't think Huguishan or Fansong would be so despicable. Even if they try to be frugal, the number of pills they can offer us is far from enough. Furthermore, this morning, I went to the 10,000 pill hall to ask the situation about the refining of more 9-ring foundation building pills, but their reply was extremely cold. All they said was they would need time to refine more, refusing to give a concrete date. When I continued asking, that person finally impatiently said that I would have to either wait or refine it myself. Even with Qin Yu's gentle nature, toward the end she couldn't help but get angry. She had essentially been driven away by the 10,000 pill hall. "They're asking for a beating." Tang Wanner was enraged. It was unexpected for the 10,000 pill hall to go so far as to even bully Qin Yu. "Long Chen, go beat them for Sister Qin Yu." "All right, it just so happens that I was bored." Long Chen laughed sinisterly and began to walk out. It was Qin Yu who stopped him. "You're already adults, so stop acting like children. The main point is how to resolve our current situation." Long Chen smiled. "In truth, this matter is very simple. The Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall's idiots are colluding with the Alchemy Pavilion to harm us. If we urgently want the pills, we'll have to lower our heads and have them rip us off. We'll have to buy the 9-ring foundation building pills from them at tens of times the cost. Speaking of which, isn't the foundation building pill an 8th tier pill with several precious ingredients? What is its price? Yes, it's very expensive. It costs 8,000 points for one. I don't know if they're trying to retrieve points from us now that we made so many points, but the price is definitely frightening, said Qingyu. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but a foundation building pill truly is that valuable. My guess is that in the past, the price probably wasn't that high, and they sold them to disciples at cost. After all, the growth of its disciples is the foundation of the sect. Even if they don't earn anything, it's better than not allowing the disciples to advance. But 8,000 points, eh? After the last battle, the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall are down to 50,000 members. Normally, each person would prepare 2 9-ring foundation building pills for themselves, so 2 sets would be 4 pills. Then 8,000 times 4 is 32,000, and then times 50 is, damn, they spent 1,600,000,000 points for this. Did they use everything they had? Asked Long Chen. I heard that they got 2,700,000,000 points from the battle, so that's over half their points, said Qingyu. Hee good. They want to con me? I'll make them lose all the money they invested in this plot. Long Chen laughed sinisterly. Hee, just looking at Long Chen's eyes, I know someone's about to be out of luck. Tang Wan'er covered her mouth and laughed upon seeing Long Chen's expression. But of course, do they think they can cheat me out of my hard-earned money? Speaking of which, how many points do we have now? Asked Long Chen. 10,700,000 points, said Qingyu. That many? Long Chen couldn't help being surprised. If your bracelet didn't max out, then our points would be several times greater, said Qingyu. Long Chen suddenly recalled that the numerical value on his bracelet had stopped working in the battle. The Xian Master had said that the Dragonblood Legion could buy things at half price in exchange. However, Long Chen had refused him. He didn't want to take advantage of him, and he also didn't want to owe anyone favors. In any case, he had enough points, so why be in debt to others? However, he had obtained a special tablet. That tablet granted him access to any training region in the entire Xiantian Dao sect free of charge. Furthermore, there was no name on it. Long Chen could lend it to others to use. Currently, he had given it to Guoran, and he was using the best forging room now. Inside, there were spirit stones he could use free of charge to power his forging table. Normally, using that top-grade forging room cost 100,000 points a day. It was the most expensive of all the Xiantian Dao sect's training rooms. Giving the tablet to Guoran was the most efficient choice. Although we don't have your points, we are still first place amongst all the factions, and by a large margin at that. When the points were distributed, I saw that Fan Song, Hu Guishan, as well as that Gao Xianying all had a greedy light in their eyes, said Tang Wan'er proudly, but she quickly became furious. I bet they came up with this plot to get our points. The Alchemy Pavilion was related to the Law Enforcement Hall. That was no secret in the Xiantian Dao sect. Furthermore, the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall had a reason for their actions. In truth, just 1 pill was enough for a disciple, and 2 pills were already extra insurance. A second pill would increase the effect by 50%. As for the 3rd and 4th pill, there wasn't much increase in effect. But no one could say for sure that there wouldn't be the slightest increase in effect. So by buying 2 sets of the pills, they could just barely get by within the realm of logic. With this excuse and their points, as well as the collusion of the Alchemy Pavilion, this trap had been formed seamlessly. If the Dragonblood Legion wanted the 9-ring foundation building pills, they would have to buy them from the Divine Beast Mansion and Hegemon Hall. That was also legal. A single disciple would only sell 2 pills. That couldn't count as selling a large amount of medicinal pills, so it didn't infringe upon the rules. That was what made Qingyu the most furious, while also helpless. She had already prepared herself to be ripped off. She just hoped it wouldn't be too bad. It's fine, such a minor matter isn't worth you worrying about. Sister Qingyu, I'll handle it. I'll go to the Elder Hall and recommend that the Elder Hall Master go take a trip to see the tower department head. Long Chen smiled. But they didn't break any rules. Telling them is useless, said Qin Yu. They didn't break the rules now, but that doesn't mean no one will break the rules in the future. I want to first cut off their path of retreat so that all their 9-ring foundation building pills rot in their hands, said Long Chen. You mean, yes, I can refine the foundation building pill myself. To tell the truth, I saw the Alchemy Pavilion's foundation building pills a while ago, and even if you gave me such a thing, I wouldn't want it, said Long Chen disdainfully. The Alchemy Pavilion's alchemy arts could not compare to Pill Valley's. All their high-level pill formulas were purchased from Pill Valley, and they were limited to formulas below the 9th tier. If they wanted 9th tier pills, they would have to buy them from Pill Valley. As for the 8th tier pill formulas they gave out, they were ordinary formulas with limited quality. Long Chen fundamentally looked down on these pills. What kind of joke was that? Pill Valley wasn't a fool. They wouldn't give their good things away. Otherwise, how would they make money? With his pill god memories, Long Chen didn't even place Pill Valley's medicinal pills in his eyes, let alone the Xiantian Dao Sect's amateur alchemists. Sister Qin Yu, tell everyone that only those that have yet to touch the barrier should continue cultivating. The rest can all take a break. Once everyone is caught up, we'll advance together, said Long Chen. All right. Qin Yu clearly felt much more relaxed. It was like she was another person compared to the Qin Yu that had arrived. Once Qin Yu left, Long Chen went directly to the Elder Hall. He found the hall master and said he wanted to file a complaint with the tower department head. As a result, the Elder Hall Master immediately said that he would handle this matter himself and there was no need for Long Chen to do it personally. Long Chen immediately said humbly that he wouldn't want to trouble him, but the Elder Hall Master said that the main point was that the tower department head didn't want to see Long Chen, so he had to go. The tower department head was extremely upright. If he criticized Long Chen, there was no way to know what Long Chen would do with his temper. To avoid such an awkward situation, he'd rather stay in a safer position. Long Chen snorted upon hearing that. He didn't bother with that and just waited for news. When Long Chen returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain, Qin Yu told him there was already someone who had secretly contacted her and said that he could sell her 9-ring foundation building pills if she needed them. That person was one of Hu Gishan's people. He had openly said that if the Dragon Blood Legion wanted 9-ring foundation building pills, they would only be able to buy some from him. If they wanted to wait until the Alchemy Pavilion refined more, they could wait until next year. Such open peddling clearly showed they were confident in their backers. Qin Yu acted in accordance with Long Chen's instructions and acted hesitant, in the end asking the price. That person had immediately snickered and offered a price of 32,000 for one pill. Back then, Qin Yu hadn't been able to hold back a smile. For times the price really was evil. She had said that she wasn't able to decide such a thing, that she would need to discuss it with others. That person left, merely saying that she should hurry. If she took too long, the price might not be 32,000 points later. Long Chen had Qin Yu continue to stall them. All she needed to do was act hesitant. The next day, Long Chen received words from the Elder Hall Master that said everything was settled. The Xiantian Tower Supervising Department would investigate this matter. They would keep track of all the Alchemy Pavilion's business transactions and definitely wouldn't allow them to return their medicinal pills. Now Long Chen was completely at ease. He directly told Qin Yu there was no longer any need to stall. But it seemed the other side had also received some news and was urgently trying to contact Qin Yu. However, Qin Yu never revealed herself to them again. Now, Hu Geshan and Fan Song were both a bit panicked. But they still had one strand of hope. They thought Long Chen was intentionally competing with them in terms of patience. He was hoping to get more bargaining chips to get a better price. After all, refining 9-ring foundation building pills wasn't something just anyone could do, especially not in those quantities. That was why they had been confident enough to follow through with this plan while investing so many points. Hu Geshan and Fan Song were acting calm but filled with worry. They had spent 1,600,000 points. That was the majority of the wealth of their factions. While the two of them worried, Long Chen was in seclusion, about to start refining pills. The pill he was refining was called the 9C Foundation Building Pill, and it was different from the Xiantian Dao Sex Foundation Building Pill. It had 9 main ingredients and its effect was 10 times greater than an ordinary foundation building pill. It was even better than the Spirit Immortal Foundation Building Pill he had originally been planning on refining. This was an ancient pill that had disappeared from the outside world. But Long Chen had long since made his preparations. "Little fellow, let's get to work. We'll take it easy for the first attempt," said Long Chen to Huolong. This was his first time refining an 8th-tier pill, and he was refining an incredibly difficult one. Hee, the feeling of having money is truly good. Long Chen took out an ancient cauldron that had runes carved all over it. It gave off a feeling of great age. This was a top-grade 8th-tier pill furnace he had bought for 10 million points, and it was an inheritance pill furnace. Other treasures were more valuable the newer they were, but this pill furnace became more valuable with age. The more medicinal pills it refined, the higher its grade would grow. Pill furnaces were different from ordinary tools. Their item spirits were able to help during the refinement process, increasing the chances of successful refinement. Furthermore, due to refining medicinal pills for countless years, the interior of the pill furnace would absorb the essence of all kinds of medicines. That allowed it to possess a kind of intimate energy with medicinal ingredients, which allowed it to refine their energy easier. This was the most luxuriant pill furnace Long Chen had ever possessed. After playing with it for a while, he decided not to immediately start refining. He held the pill furnace against his chest and used his soul to nourish it. In the alchemy world, this was referred to as awakening the spirit. It was an ancient ceremony for accepting a master. For alchemists, their pill furnaces were not just tools, but their companions. Only through perfect communication was it possible to refine higher-level pills. But after an incense stick's worth of time, the pill furnace's runes slowly lit up, and a dense medicinal fragrance filled the air. Long Chen smiled. The 10 million points he had spent on it hadn't been a waste. There was an ancient item spirit within the pill furnace, and it had now accepted him as the master. Flames leaped into existence in his hand. He slowly sent them into the pill furnace, and its runes once more lit up. This time it was different. The runes were lighting up one by one, like spiritual yuan flowing through acupuncture points. The pill furnace was the same. Its runes might appear disordered, but they were carved in a set pattern. Each time a rune lit up, the pill furnace would heat up a bit more. When the final rune lit up, the entire pill furnace began to shake, and it was like it had come to life. Only now did the pill furnace fully wake from its slumber. Long Chen carefully increased the flame and poured in the medicinal powders he had already prepared. It was time to start his refinement. Clink. Long Chen closed his pill furnace and looked at it with an adoring expression. He had bought a true treasure this time. This pill furnace was even better than what he had expected. Previously, he had been depending entirely on his own skills for his alchemy. But now he had a pill furnace good enough to assist him, making it much easier for him to refine pills. Even the extremely difficult to refine 9C Foundation Building Pill was refined so easily by him. The merging of each medicinal powder also became simple. The pill furnace was exceptionally useful when there were two ingredients with conflicting properties. In order to prevent a furnace explosion, Long Chen would use his flame energy to isolate them, suppress their properties, and then slowly merge them carefully. However, suppressing their properties would result in a small loss of their spirituality. Now that he had this ancient pill furnace, things were different. The pill furnace possessed its own spirituality, and it was able to merge the contradictory medicinal ingredients without losing any of their spirituality. That saved his spiritual strength and reduced the risk of a furnace explosion in addition to preserving the medicinal energy and spirituality. But the pill furnace shook slightly, and its runes once more lit up. Heaven and earth's energy flowed in like a whale inhaling water. It brings its own spiritual energy to the refinement. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Long Chen was absolutely delighted. This pill furnace's abilities affected everything, allowing him to take it easy on many parts of the refinement. It could handle things on its own. Furthermore, each refinement was so calm. He didn't need to be tense during the refinement or watch closely as if he was trying to catch a hopping rabbit. Hee, it's done. Let's see its effect. Long Chen slowly opened the lid, and not even the slightest medicinal fragrance floated out. Instead, several figures shot away. Those figures were the size of a palm and looked like little apes. They rapidly fled from the pill furnace. Get back here. Long Chen couldn't help but laugh. Waving his hand, those apes disappeared, transforming into medicinal pills that were drawn back to his hand. 9 plump pills lay there, light flowing around them. Not even the slightest medicinal fragrance came from them. Within their light, there seemed to be a small ape running around. A top-grade pill. I can finally refine top-grade pills. Long Chen laughed excitedly. On one hand, usually only 8th-tier medicinal pills could be refined to the top-grade level. On the other hand, if he hadn't possessed this ancient pill furnace, let alone a top-grade pill, just refining a 9-ring 9C foundation building pill would be difficult enough for Long Chen at his current level. Not only was it top grade, but it was 9 top-grade pills to boot. This kind of accomplishment was definitely capable of frightening a few dead alchemists back to life. Some alchemists might spend their whole lives without being able to refine even a single top-grade pill. Even if they did, it would be treated as a family treasure and used as a sign of their glory. But then when Long Chen thought about it, he had a pill god's control over flames, Huolong's cooperation, and the assistance of this pill furnace. It seemed this accomplishment wasn't anything to boast about and was only reasonable. Looking at the 9 top-grade pills filled Long Chen with delight. The medicinal energy in top-grade pills could be rated as terrifying, as it was 10 times greater than in 9-ring pills. Its strongest aspect was that its trace of spirituality was able to thoroughly ignite the medicinal energy once it was in the body. After a long while of excitement, Long Chen put the 9 top-grade pills away and continued refining. With this ancient pill furnace, he learned what it meant to be relaxed and refine effortlessly. With each furnace of pills he refined, the faster he went, and the more adept he became. The speed of his refinement delighted Long Chen. Day after day passed. While Long Chen was rapidly refining pills, Hu Guishan and Fan Song felt each day to be as long as a year. Each day, they would stealthily inquire about the state of Crouching Dragon Mountain. The only thing that comforted them was that all the Dragonblood Legion's people were spending each day just eating and playing. Right now, other than the Dragonblood Legion, the other faction's disciples had gone to a certain location of the Xiantian Dao sect to undergo tribulation. Each day, there were hundreds of disciples successfully going through tribulation and becoming foundation forging experts. Day after day passed, and more disciples succeeded in advancing. But there were some exceptions. Some disciples turned to dust during their tribulation. Nevertheless, the disciples here were all celestials. Failing during a tribulation was always due to unexpected accidents. For example, some disciples would suddenly become defiant during their tribulation, and they refused to advance according to the tempo of the heavenly tribulation. And so, they were mercilessly erased. But for the majority of disciples, as long as they didn't resist and protected themselves with heavenly Tao energy, the chances of their tribulations killing them were almost non-existent. More and more disciples successfully advanced. Once they did, they entered seclusion to solidify their cultivation bases. But Fan Song and Hu Guishan were unable to calmly solidify their cultivation bases after advancing. They were too panicked. During this half a month, the absolute majority of the disciples from the 5 factions had succeeded in their tribulations. There was also a small portion still waiting. However, not the slightest movement came from Crouching Dragon Mountain. They had tried probing them several times, but the Dragonblood Legion simply ignored them. They were panicking, not knowing what tricks Long Chen had up his sleeve. After another 5 days, Long Chen came out of seclusion and directly gathered all the Dragonblood Legion's members. After sending word to the Elder Hall, they borrowed the Dao sect's transportation formation to arrive in a secluded mountain valley in the surroundings of the Xiantian Dao sect. "Brothers, there's more candy for you," laughed Long Chen. He had Guoran distribute the medicinal pills. Boss, you wouldn't. All the disciples' faces were green. They still remembered the candy from last time like it had happened yesterday. Just hearing him say this gave them terror. But once the medicinal pills were distributed, they had no choice but to swallow them. The new healing members of the Dragon Blood Legion looked at the others with uncomprehending expressions. They saw them swallowing the pills like they were poison. As soon as they swallowed the pills, all their expressions changed. Don't be afraid, there's no poison. Do you feel like your Qi Si is about to explode? Then that's the right feeling, laughed Longchen. At this time, Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er were both slightly pale. But they had absolute trust in Longchen, and they bitterly endured. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, successive explosions rang out from their bodies. They felt like their Qi Sis had truly exploded, but when they carefully looked, they felt that something was off. Each of their Qi Sis had all transformed into 9 Qi Sis within their dantians. Endless energy circulated within them, shocking all of them. These are 9 C foundation building pills, and each of them is top grade. It will cause a detonation within your dantian and create 8 more Qi Sis that will superimpose over your original Qi Si. Now you temporarily possess 9 Qi Sis. 8 of those Qi Sis are fake. However, only we know that. The heavens don't know, so, you understand. Begin to attack the barrier. When you succeed in advancing to foundation forging, you will be able to look down on others in the same realm, ha! Longchen laughed loudly. Hearing this, everyone was delighted. Looking at the 9 Qi Sis in their bodies, they roared and went all out attacking the barrier. The 9 Qi Sis exploded and then rapidly compressed. The 9 Qi Sis were just temporary. It was similar to the effect of the Qi explosion pill. With 9 dantians' energy overlapping, the original runes they condensed would be 9 times stronger than other people's. That powerful original rune would also be temporary. But once it formed, it would be sensed by the heavenly Daos. The heavenly Daos would unleash heavenly tribulation based on the strength of that rune. Once that rune absorbed the energy of the heavenly tribulation, it would immediately transform, going from fake to real. This was a way to cheat the heavens. Cheating the heavens was disrespectful to the heavenly Daos. But Longchen had never had any respect for them. He had an urge to pee all over the heavens. What could the heavens do to him? The Dragon Blood Legion's warriors were all going all out attacking the barrier. The wood cultivators' expressions changed because they innately feared Thunder Force. If they underwent tribulation with the others, they would definitely die. They looked at Longchen with terror. Longchen gave them a glowing smile like the sun. It was very warm, very intimate. Don't worry, if the heavens collapse, I will hold them up. Looking at that warm smile, listening to that confident voice, they felt their terror fade. Clenching their teeth, they closed their eyes and continued attacking the barrier. Rumble! A torrent of lightning began to fall from the heavens. When it landed on their bodies, it unleashed crackling sounds. Everyone hastily drew that thunder force into their dantians. The instant this tribulation thunder force entered their dantians, the illusory runes that they had just formed in their dantians immediately became solid. They went wild with delight. This rune had been formed based on 9 of their Qi Sis. Now, this seed had received the recognition of the heavenly Daos, and it would be the foundation of their immortal platforms. Seeing that everyone had properly condensed their original runes, Longchen said, "Gu Yang, release your aura. There's no time to waste, so quicken the pace." Gu Yang roared, his aura erupting. The lightning rain immediately became lightning swords piercing down on them. Don't just stand there. Block them. Gu Yang swept out his spear, shattering a large area of lightning swords. The Dragonmark warriors were still dumbfounded. They were under the impression that heavenly tribulation could not be cheated. They had to follow the sequence laid out by the heavenly tribulation, allowing it to baptize their bodies without fighting back. Those who went against it would be annihilated. But now, Longchen's orders completely toppled their understanding. If you don't even dare to fight against the heavens, what will you be capable of in the future? Could it be that you'll simply allow yourselves to die if the heavens will it? If you're so cowardly, how are you fit to be members of the Dragon Blood Legion? Shouted Gu Yang. Those Dragonmark warriors took a deep breath and then let out roars of fury, also attacking the lightning. The lightning swords were blown apart, transforming into lightning runes that were absorbed by their bodies. The impurities in their bodies were forced out. The wood cultivators were scared witless and didn't even dare to move. They had never imagined that such a pack of crazy people who would fight against the heavenly tribulation existed. However, there was no need for them to do anything. As wood cultivators, attacking the lightning would be useless in any case. They just stood there, absorbing their share of lightning runes. There were naturally people to protect them. Gu Yang increased the firepower. Once Long Chen saw that everyone was used to this, he called out for Gu Yang to continue. Gu Yang's aura rose to a new level. The runes around him began to charge against the heavenly tribulation. This was a provocation, a defiant action. It was a kind of contempt for the heavenly Daos. In the view of outsiders, such action was pure suicide. But Long Chen had to make sure each warrior of the Dragonblood Legion had the courage to fight against the heavens. Otherwise, there was no way for them to cultivate a heart that would never waver. The Dragonblood warriors had long since grown accustomed to this, treating heavenly tribulation like it was nothing. Compared to the heavens, they revered Long Chen far more. In their eyes, Long Chen was even stronger than the heavens. The heavens only gave them an ordinary body, ordinary talent, and an ordinary fate. But Long Chen had changed everything about them. They were full of reverence and gratitude toward Long Chen. Furthermore, after fighting for so many years, they had long since grown accustomed to this kind of style of being unafraid of heaven and earth. Under the Dragonblood warriors' guidance, the Dragonmark warriors also began to toss aside their understanding of cultivation and fight against the heavenly Daos alongside them. The Dragonmark warriors had trod the line between life and death several times now. Their wills were firm enough, but they still possessed an innate reverence for the heavenly Daos and didn't dare to fight back. What Long Chen wanted was to temper their wills. Rumbling filled the world as the lightning tribulation continued. Everyone could sense a kind of anger. The heavens were angry and wanted to destroy them. All the Dragonmark warriors were pale, their hearts almost leaping out of their bodies. That wasn't because they lacked courage, but because of the terror that formed in the depths of their souls. As for the wood cultivators, they were even more terrified. The pressure coming from the heavens made it so they didn't even dare to move. They were relying entirely on the others to block the lightning tribulation. The lightning was still growing stronger. The lightning swords transformed to become lightning spears and then lightning hammers that grew bigger and bigger. After 2 hours, the lightning hammers were several meters long. When they smashed into the Dragonmark warriors, they coughed up blood. On the other hand, the Dragonblood warriors were still fine. That was the difference. Although they were both rank 4 celestials, the Dragonblood warriors' physical bodies were several times stronger than the Dragonmark warriors. That was the difference created by experiencing bitter tribulations several times. Not bad, but do you think this is enough? Are you going to collapse just because of this? Long Chen frowned at the pale Dragonmark warriors. Boss, we can keep going, cried a Dragonmark warrior with an ashamed expression. They all saw that while it felt like their combat power was rapidly catching up to the Dragonblood warriors, making it so they felt like they weren't much weaker, this tribulation revealed that there was still a large gap between them and the Dragonblood warriors. I don't want you to keep going, I want you to attack. What are you afraid of? Didn't I already say that if the heavens collapse, I will hold them up? Go all out attacking. No defending at all, shouted Long Chen. The Dragonmark warriors were still in defensive postures despite now daring to fight back. Nevertheless, they didn't dare to take the initiative to attack. But hearing this, they clenched their teeth. If they died, then they died. It was time to go all out. The Dragonmark warriors took on an attitude as though they had accepted that they would die today. They unleashed all their power, attacking the lightning. But after just the first attack, they found that the weather seemed to have improved. Enduring the lightning also became easier. Gu Yang, continue, said Long Chen. Gu Yang walked the path of a body cultivator. His aura was the strongest, and heavenly tribulation loved that aura the most. So Gu Yang's provocation was the most effective. The lightning tribulation was unleashing lightning based on Gu Yang's cultivation base. As a result, those rank 4 celestials were unlucky. They were enduring the tribulation of a rank 5 celestial. But as everyone went all out attacking, any lightning that appeared would be instantly blown apart, and the resulting lightning runes filled the air. A sea of lightning runes had piled up. Bathed within those lightning runes, everyone felt their bodies being purified and strengthened. The wood cultivators were also bathed in the lightning runes. Although they didn't need to bear any attacks, they found that they were starting to become unable to bear it. They felt like they were about to die. Suddenly, a lightning chain flew out, pulling them out. Those wood cultivators flew to Long Chen's side. Once they were beside Long Chen, they suddenly found that the terrifying thunder force surrounding them was isolated. They relaxed, and as a result, they collapsed on the ground. A huge lightning dragon swam around Long Chen. The lightning attacks falling toward Long Chen were all devoured by it. It was like a giant umbrella, protecting all of them. Many thanks, senior apprentice brother Long Chen. Those wood cultivators felt so emotional that they were about to cry. Just now, they really had felt like they were about to die. You still have some remaining thunder force in your bodies. Don't blindly dispel it. All objects have things that restrain them and things that boost them. Thunder force restrains you because of your wood attribute, but it can also be beneficial. Use it to provoke your wood attribute original runes. When they sense the danger, they will instinctively draw out your spiritual yuan to strengthen themselves, allowing them to grow in extra time. This is an opportunity the heavens have bestowed only to you, so don't waste it, said Long Chen. Those wood cultivators couldn't help being both grateful and ashamed. Long Chen had only forced them to go through such a terrifying lightning tribulation for their own good. Long Chen viewed these wood cultivators as very important, and he was preparing to keep them permanently. Of course, he would gather some related information about wood cultivators and their needs as well. Everything was within his control. The only thing was that wood cultivators possessed weak constitutions. This was their current limit. Any more and it would actually be dangerous. Boss, my constitution is weak. I also need protection, cried Guaran upon seeing that Long Chen had saved the wood cultivators. He began moving over. Scram. Guyang, what are you doing? If even the weakest fellow has time to chat, you're clearly not going hard enough, shouted Long Chen. Boss, just wait and see, replied Guyang. A rune lit up on his forehead, and a pillar of light soared through the clouds. The tribulation clouds shook intensely. The sky split open as huge lightning beasts appeared, charging down on them. The Dragon Mark warriors turned green with terror. They had never seen or heard of this kind of lightning beast appearing in a tribulation. Hee Guaran, don't blame your brothers for not being loyal. Next time, remember that drawing attention to yourself should depend on the situation. Gu Yang laughed wickedly. All his runes formed a resonance with the world and shot toward the sky. Wielding his spear, he crashed into the first lightning beast. The huge lightning beast blew apart, unleashing endless runes. Gu Yang was able to destroy one of those 500-meter lightning beasts with one blow, all while smiling. That shocked the Dragon Mark warriors, and it fully ignited their hot blood. They found that the difference between them and the Dragon Blood warriors was truly immense. They refused to accept this. If this continued, they would appear too useless. Kill them. All of them charged toward the lightning beasts. They once more found the feeling they had had when killing 9th-rank devil beasts in the infernal devil abyss. They no longer had the slightest fear. All their fear did was make them lose face. Even they felt too ashamed to show their faces. In fact, they felt like were bringing shame to the Dragon Blood Legion. They had to retrieve their face. Meng Qi wanna come over. Long Chen called over Meng Qi and Tanghua. The two of you just needed to allow your rune to obtain the recognition of the lightning tribulation. Your bodies were originally in a flawless state, so you don't need to use this thunder force to temper yourselves. You can come watch the fun as well. I forgot. Meng Qi was a bit red. On the other hand, Tang Wanner had a teasing smile. Meng Qi and Tang Wanner both had special constitutions. The lightning tribulation was nothing more than an approval process for them and didn't really bring many benefits to them either way. "Oh, Guo Ran seems to be injured," said Meng Qi. "Ignore him. He's once more up to his little tricks. Don't get fooled by his appearance. Otherwise, that fellow will definitely begin to wail and cry, saying he's going to die and such. His shamelessness knows no bounds." Long Chen didn't even look at Guo Ran's pathetic appearance. Holding Meng Qi and Tang Wanner's hands, he pretended to talk and laugh. Meng Qi and Tang Wanner also laughed. It was true that Long Chen was the one who understood Guo Ran the best. This fellow was crafty and slippery, and he didn't like suffering the slightest bit. "He doesn't walk an ordinary cultivation path, so he doesn't need to do this either, right?" asked Meng Qi. "That's different. The power of his physical body is extremely important. Although his power is the lowest amongst the entire faction, once he puts on his armor, even I would have a headache dealing with him. Once he is clad in his armor, his power will multiply by tens or even hundreds of times. It's extremely monstrous. But his armor only multiplies his original power, and so the stronger his physical body, the more powerful he'll be once he puts on his armor. Of course, he also understands this principle. But he doesn't like to suffer this kind of pain, so he'll try to escape. He'll try to get by simply by using his armor to cover up his weaknesses," said Long Chen. In truth, Guo Ran's character was not what a cultivator should possess. If he had Gu Yang's power and made a specialized armor, adding on his concealed weapons, Long Chen would flee whenever he saw Guo Ran. But he refused to make something out of himself. Other than when it came to forging, he was too lazy to the point that there was no saving him. His power was built entirely through Long Chen's medicinal pills. He didn't even cultivate. That was why his normal combat power was the weakest amongst them all. "Boss." As expected, not much time had passed before Guo Ran intentionally drew Long Chen's attention to his plight. "What is it?" "Boss, I've broken my limits 7 times already, and I brushed against death's shoulder 9 times. I can't hold on any longer. I'm going to die. Boss, save me." As he spoke, Guo Ran coughed up blood, appearing extremely wretched. "What did you say?" "The thunder is too loud and I can't hear you," said Long Chen. Guo Ran once more shouted it. Long Chen's expression changed slightly. Just as Guo Ran thought Long Chen was shocked and going to save him, Long Chen said, "Sorry, my ears are ringing from the thunder, and I can't hear anything." "Meng Qi, quick, can you tell what he's saying?" Meng Qi and Tang Wanner were both curled up in laughter from Long Chen's display. He was absolutely evil. This time, Guo Ran truly coughed up a mouthful of blood. He could see that acting pitiable had no chance of success now. If he ran over, he'd just be kicked back, so he could only continue. The lightning continued to grow stronger. The lightning beasts grew stronger, and the runes that came out of them when they exploded also grew stronger. Even if a person wasn't struck by a lightning beast, they would still have their skin split when a lightning rune landed on their body. Blood continuously poured out. Some Dragonmark warriors who were attacked by the lightning beasts had their bones break and wildly vomited blood. Without a word from Long Chen, the wood cultivators who had just managed to take a breath waved their staves. Green waves of light surged out, healing those injured Dragonmark warriors. "Not good, boss. Guo Ran has fainted." One of the Dragonblood warriors suddenly noticed that Guo Ran had collapsed. Long Chen glanced at Guo Ran, who was lying there like a dead dog. "It's fine, just let the lightning whip his corpse." After saying that, Guo Ran immediately crawled up from the ground and continued fighting. This attempt was also a failure now, and he didn't dare to continue playing dead. However, very quickly, Guo Ran truly wasn't able to endure it. These terrifying lightning runes caused him to wildly vomit blood whenever they landed on his body, and this time he wasn't faking. However, Long Chen continued to ignore Guo Ran's wailing. In any case, with the healing of the wood cultivators, there was no chance of him dying. It was just painful. Guo Ran was the first to reach this point, but in just an hour, the others were also unable to bear it. They were covered in blood as these lightning runes continued to grow stronger. Each time a lightning rune entered their bodies, it would injure their internal organs. As for Wild, he didn't feel anything. He was still beating lightning beasts with his club, seemingly unable to feel the surrounding thunder force. But at the same time as their internal organs broke apart, the impurities inside them were also forced out. This was a painful way to strengthen one's internal organs. Foundation forging was an important process. This realm was a dividing range for cultivators. In the foundation forging realm, cultivators had to expel all the impurities in their bodies. Only through a flawless body could they build a flawless immortal platform. But the Dragonmark warriors, as well as Guaran, hadn't experienced consecutive terrifying lightning tribulations. In order to fully expel all their impurities, they had to endure extra pain this time. When it came to Guaran, this was all his own fault. Before, he liked to slip away before it got too painful. Now, all that debt was catching up to him, with interest. As for the Dragonblood warriors, they were also in a miserable state, but it was within the realm they could endure. They still didn't feel like this was very taxing. This hellish pain continued for over 2 hours but felt longer than a year to the Dragonmark warriors. However, to Guaran, it felt like a century. He was about to go crazy. Longchen finally nodded. Everyone's bodies had undergone a great change, and their auras were much more solid. The tribulation clouds in the sky were starting to fade. But suddenly, a blood-red saber image pierced into the sky, and the tribulation clouds were cut in two. This attack caused even Gu Yang and the others to jump in shock. Long Chen was actually once more attacking the lightning tribulation. If the lightning tribulation once more strengthened, then perhaps people like Gu Yang, Yu Zifeng, and the other commanders might be able to barely endure it, but the others would be instantly annihilated. But surprisingly, the tribulation clouds were cleanly cut in two, and sunlight peeked out from that crack. After that, the tribulation clouds slowly dissipated without healing. Boss is mighty. Brothers, we succeeded. We're foundation forging experts. Seeing the tribulation clouds fade away, the Dragonblood Legion's warriors all let out heaven-shaking cheers. The Dragonmark warriors were cheering with utmost passion. They were unable to believe that they had survived after fighting against the heavens. It ignored me? Long Chen couldn't help being dumbfounded as he looked at the scattering tribulation clouds. He had been hoping to allow Lei Long to eat some more this time, but the tribulation clouds simply scattered. He had been hoping to use their heavenly tribulation to strengthen Lei Long as much as possible. That way, he would have a powerful trump card for his next tribulation. But looking at this scene, it seemed his hopes were completely dashed. He had miscalculated the laws of the heavenly Daos. When the Dragonblood Legion returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain, the entire Xiantian Dao sect was shaken. In just one day, over 13,000 people had succeeded in their tribulations and become foundation forging experts. If they didn't see it personally, they wouldn't believe it. Even people who did see it personally were almost unable to believe it. When this news reached Hu Geishan and Fan Song's ears, they were immediately dumbfounded, their hearts cold. Looking at the huge number of 9-ring foundation building pills in their hands, their heads were empty. Now, these 9-ring foundation building pills were useless. All the inner sect disciples had advanced to foundation forging now. As for outer sect disciples, the new ones would need at least a few years to advance. The huge number of pills in their hands would simply rot. Orders had already come from higher up that they couldn't return them. They couldn't get out of this, nor could they sell them. Hu Geishan and Fan Song had lost 800 million points, making them both feel like they might cough up blood. In the end, they had no choice but to reduce the price and sell them, their target being the outer sect disciples. They dropped the original price of 8,000 points to 4,000. But the outer sect disciples were too poor. 4,000 points was too much for them to afford. When any outer sect disciples advanced to foundation forging, they would normally prepare a pill that was much cheaper than the foundation building pill. That pill only cost 400 points. 9-ring foundation building pills were the best pills that could be bought in the Xiantian Dao sect of their type. Thus, The outer sect disciples couldn't afford such a thing, and even at 4,000 points, there still weren't any takers. Despite Hu Guishan and Fan Song running over to the outer sect and trying to sell discounted 9-ring foundation building pills in the same spot Long Chen had sold his elixir back then, not one person came to buy it. In fact, not even one person came to talk to them. That made them dumbfounded. Later, they heard that Long Chen had said that as long as no one bought any, they would drop the price even further, a price so low that they had never dreamed of it. The outer sect was Long Chen's land. He was like a god there, and his words were practically more effective than the Xian masters. Hu Guishan and Fan Song were so furious that they turned purple. They now realized their attempt of conning Long Chen had resulted in them being conned by Long Chen. But they still had to sell them. These pills were garbage in their hands. They needed more points to consolidate their people's cultivation bases. It had to be known that these points were not their personal points. They had gathered all the points they could from their factions, and they had only barely managed to gather enough. After all, not all factions were as united as the Dragonblood Legion and willing to give all their points to the leader. Hu Guishan and Fan Song had borrowed points from their disciples to buy the 9-ring foundation building pills in order to make a huge profit. But let alone making a profit, they even lost their investment. No one bid at 4,000 points, so clenching their teeth, they dropped it to 2,000 points. Still, no one came to buy any. And then what made them even more furious was that even at 1,000 points, everyone still ignored them. In truth, 1,000 points was a very enticing price. But before Long Chen sent out the word, they didn't dare to buy any. Hu Guishan and Fan Song were about to go insane. They didn't even want to sell them anymore, but they also needed points. In the end, they sent out word that the lowest price would be 800 points. If no one bought any, they would rather throw them away. Now, people finally came to buy them. But now, these 8,000-point pills were sold for 800 points each. And the most infuriating thing to them was that these outer sect disciples were actually grateful to Long Chen after buying the 9-ring foundation building pills from them. As for Hu Guishan and Fan Song, the outer disciples just snorted disdainfully at them. The two of them had spent all their money just to make Long Chen even more amazing in the outer sect. Smoke almost came out of their ears. News of this business since quickly spread throughout the Xiantiandao sect. Whether it was the inner sect or outer sect, or even the workers and commoners, everyone knew that the two of them had become the Xiantiandao sect's laughingstocks. Their perfect display of trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it had been played out to an extreme level, and their legend would be passed down generation after generation. Others would put on plays of this story, ones that were amazing and realistic. In truth, Long Chen wasn't aware of any of this. After the tribulation, he had gone into seclusion with the Dragonblood Legion. But before going into seclusion, he had told Xian Duo to properly cut Hu Guishan and Fan Song's flesh. This had all been done by Xian Duo. It went without saying that Xian Duo had some real business sense, and this matter was handled very beautifully. In his seclusion, Long Chen clearly felt the great power of the foundation forging realm, but he also noticed something that he didn't know what to do about. In this realm, others only had one original rune, but he had 108,000. That made the difficulty in advancing absolutely monstrous. Although in 1-to-1 comparison, the energy within one of his original runes was only about a tenth compared to the energy in Tang Waner or Gu Yang's runes, he still had 108,000 of them. The difficulty of his advancement was thousands of times greater. Now, 7 days had passed, and everyone had already consolidated their cultivation bases, making their aura steady. But Long Chen's aura continued to surge out of his control. In his helplessness, Long Chen could only take out a Yuan spirit stone. Circulating his spiritual energy, he slowly extracted the Yuan spiritual energy inside. This Yuan spirit stone came from the immemorial path. It was a gift the aboriginals had sent him, and now they finally had a use. Yuan spiritual energy slowly poured into Long Chen's body through his hand. That pure energy was the most original energy of heaven and earth, the energy that had existed when the world had first formed. Long Chen felt like spring water was flowing throughout his body. All his pores opened, and his acupuncture points greedily absorbed this energy. Long Chen saw that his original runes were beginning to grow hundreds of times faster than when he cultivated on his own. The Yuan spirit stone in his hand shattered. After all its Yuan spiritual energy was extracted, it broke. Long Chen took out 2 Yuan spirit stones and continued absorbing their energy. Originally, when it came to consolidating one's realm, the best option was to rely on your own energy. Although it would take a bit longer, it would make your realm more solid. But Long Chen couldn't wait. Others might have only needed a week, but he would probably need 2 years like this. What kind of joke was that? If he took 2 years consolidating his realm, everyone else would already be preparing to attack the Jade Core realm. Long Chen spent 300 Yuan spirit stones to completely satisfy the original runes in his acupuncture points, allowing his aura to finally stabilize. This time, I'm probably completely screwed. Long Chen couldn't help but sigh. He was definitely doomed. Just condensing the embryonic form of his original runes took 300 Yuan spirit stones. His realm had only just stabilized, and he couldn't even count as having reached the first heaven stage of foundation forging. That required condensing his original runes 9 times and stacking them against each other before advancing. Stabilizing one's realm after breaking through was the easiest part of that realm, and the one that required the least energy. To advance to the first heaven stage would require several times the energy. Just that would be nothing, but then he would have to advance to the second heaven stage, and so on and so on. All this required more and more energy. Long Chen didn't dare to imagine how many Yuan spirit stones he would need to advance all the way to the 12th heaven stage. Having obtained 1 billion Yuan spirit stones in the immemorial path, he had thought that he would be able to advance without worry in the foundation forging realm. In fact, he had thought he would have so many leftover Yuan spirit stones that he would be able to exchange them for even more resources. Now he wasn't at all confident that 1 billion Yuan spirit stones would be enough for him to reach the peak of foundation forging. A rune appeared in Long Chen's palm. This was his original rune. It was circular, with tiny little ripples inside it. It seemed like a pearl packed with specks of dust, yet also like a cosmos filled with endless stars. The rune unleashed a gentle light that wasn't at all berserk. And yet, it caused the space around it to twist, as if the world around it was water. It contained an indescribable rhythm. Is this my original rune, or my core rune? Will I be able to use divine abilities through it? Why can't I sense anything at all? Long Chen stared blankly at this rune. Closing his eyes, he tried to sense it. This rune seemed to be in a strange state of slumber, and he was unable to form a resonance with it. Although it's in a dormant state, it's able to supply me with endless energy, and each one of them is absorbing the outside world's energy to nourish itself. Now I don't just have to rely entirely on my 4 chi Cs for energy. That was what made Long Chen the most excited. Now, he not only had 4 chi Cs of energy, but he also had 108,000 acupuncture points full of energy. Putting away his original rune, Long Chen smiled. With these 108,000 acupuncture points, he was filled with confidence. Leaving his seclusion, he saw that the majority of the Dragonblood Legion was no longer on Crouching Dragon Mountain. After asking around, he heard that they had all gone to the Xiantian Tower in order to comprehend the Xiantian Catalog. The Xiantian Catalog was normally only open to foundation forging disciples. They only had one chance, and whether or not they could grasp it was up to themselves. However, because the amount of space was limited, many people had to line up, and so a portion of the Dragonblood Legion remained at home. Having just advanced to foundation forging and consolidated their realm, they needed some time to adapt to their newfound power. It wasn't advisable to immediately start fighting, so they were quite bored now. Tang Wana was gone to comprehend the Xiantian Catalog. Rank 5 Celestials didn't need to line up, so Gu Yang, Song Mingyuan, Li Qi, and Guoran had also gone over. In the tribulation, Guoran had lost half his life, but he was an unkillable cockroach. Through some incredible dog's hit luck, he had condensed a special original rune. Through the Forging Pavilion Master's inspection, he learned it was a very rare forging divine rune. In other words, he had truly gained the qualifications to eventually grow into a forging god capable of forging divine items. Hearing that, Guo-Ran's tail had immediately stuck up high into the sky. He had just been about to start showing it off when the forging pavilion master tossed him into the Xiantian catalog. He pointed out which line referred to the forging Dao and had him comprehend it. It was much more direct than when Long Chen had randomly picked a bunch of lines. The other disciples had the same treatment. The elders would point out which line they should comprehend based on their specific talent. Long Chen had also just consolidated his realm, so he temporarily had some time. He took Meng Qi for a stroll through Treasure Gem Island. On the way, countless people were toppled over by Meng Qi's beauty. But then seeing Long Chen, they hastily looked away. Long Chen, your infamy in the Xiantian Dao sect has reached the point that many people are afraid of you. Meng Qi couldn't help but feel that it was funny as she watched those disciples immediately flee and hide upon seeing Long Chen. She held his hand as they walked. In the Xiantian Dao sect, for a man and woman to hold hands as they walked was a very unbridled kind of conduct. That was because the Xiantian Dao sect did not permit dual cultivation. That was part of the Dao principles of the Xiantian Dao sect. If a pair were to marry, then their status as disciples would be revoked, and their monthly rations would disappear, making them commoners. Normally, only disciples who had reached the end of their cultivation and had no hope of ever advancing again would marry in the Xiantian Dao sect and start creating heirs. Experts in the Xiantian Dao sect could have countless followers, and there could be some shady relationships, but there definitely wouldn't be anyone who dared to walk so openly while declaring their relationship. But Long Chen didn't care about that. He knew that while Meng Qi was bashful, she also thirsted to be taken care of. This conduct was a kind of proof of his feelings for her. That's because they're guilty inside. If they didn't once curse me, then they definitely once slandered me behind my back. Or they're just jealous. Otherwise, they wouldn't look at me with such terror, said Long Chen. Having advanced to foundation forging, he found that his mental realm had also increased. These people who hit upon seeing him only did so because they were guilty. Once they arrived on the streets of Treasure Gem Island, they wandered around, looking at the wares on both sides of the street. If the people around them weren't all high-level cultivators, they would think this was the secular world. Holding hands as they strolled, Meng Qi smiled. She was happy and satisfied with just this. This kind of peaceful ambience was extremely rare. Meng Qi, do you ever think about your family? Asked Long Chen. Not really. They probably don't think about me either. Meng Qi's eyes reddened slightly. Long Chen immediately became embarrassed, having an urge to slap himself in the face. Meng Qi had been taken away by the Wind Spirit Pavilion as a child. As a little girl, Meng Qi hadn't wanted to leave. She had cried and begged her parents not to send her away, but all she got was harsh berating. Then she also saw her parents' smiling expressions as they received gifts from one of the Wind Spirit Pavilion's elders. At that time, her heart had shattered. And once she joined the Wind Spirit Pavilion, she was treated as a future daughter-in-law by the pavilion master. Her fate was entirely in other people's hands. Unable to see any hope, she had thought about killing herself many times. Then when the Wind Spirit Pavilion learned she had a fiancé, they had wanted to kill him. Taking pity on Long Chen since he was innocent, she had personally gone over to break their engagement. That had completely changed her fate, so now she was very easily satisfied and felt very fortunate. However, the initial attitude her parents had had for her still caused her pain that could not be healed. Meng Qi was kind-hearted, but the way her parents had treated her had deeply wounded her. She was unable to forgive them. Sorry, Long Chen awkwardly apologized. Fool, what do you have to be sorry for? I feel very happy to be here with you. Meng Qi smiled, her eyes full of her deep love. Looking at Meng Qi's sincere smile, Long Chen felt even more ashamed. He owed his women far too much, so much that he would never be able to pay it back in his lifetime. He wanted to promise something, but he suddenly found he couldn't. There was nothing he could promise right now. He wasn't even able to solve the mystery of his origins, nor did he even know what enemies he was facing. There was also that voice in his dreams that urgently pressed him on, like a constant stone on his heart, making it hard for him to breathe. Long Chen, don't blame yourself. We chose to accompany you on our own. Whether you ascend to the heavens or fall to hell, whether you become a god or devil, we will still accompany you. In truth, Wan and I both feel happy. In comparison, I'm sure Xiaoqian, Zhiqiu, and Chu Yao feel the worst. We're all working hard so we can reunite as soon as possible and fulfill your desire. Toward the end, Meng Qi's face became incredibly alluring, like peach blossoms in bloom. Long Chen involuntarily felt a fire ignite in his heart. Looking at Meng Qi, he reached out to grab her waist. Don't, there are too many people here. Meng Qi jumped, hastily forbidding him. How shameless to do such a thing in a public place with so many people. Do you think the Xintian Dao sect is your home? Just at this moment, a long-faced man with a few pockmarks on his face coldly shouted from nearby. Long Chen was immediately infuriated, while Meng Qi was too embarrassed to look. Long Chen turned to see that the person talking was a disciple from the previous generation. His cultivation base had reached the late foundation forging realm, and the heavenly Dao runes around him had 6 colors. He was a rank 6 celestial. But his aura was clearly turbulent, showing that he had only just advanced to the 6th rank. He was not yet able to perfectly control his new heavenly Dao energy. Long Chen recognized him. He was someone who had once stood behind Gao Xianying. The reason Long Chen remembered him was because of his face. Not just anyone was capable of growing such a long face. It was like a brick, so it'd be strange if he didn't remember it. However, Long Chen clearly recalled that he had only been a rank 5 celestial back then. Now he had advanced. This brick-faced expert had made quite a few points in the last battle. He spent all those points on undergoing the Heavenly Tower Blessing. This Heavenly Tower Blessing was similar to the Xiantian Blessing the Inner Sect disciples had been given when they first joined the Inner Sect. But it was stronger as this blessing was focused on a single disciple. There was a certain chance that the disciple would be able to condense a new Heavenly Dao rune and advance their celestial rank. The cost of undergoing the Heavenly Tower Blessing was extremely terrifying, both for the sect and the disciple. This person had spent 10 years of savings to get this opportunity. And he had actually succeeded, inflating his confidence. Today, he had just been thinking of buying a kind of heaven-consolidating pill to stabilize his heavenly Dao energy, but instead he ended up running into Long Chen and Meng Qi acting all lovey-dovey. He was jealous and envious, and he immediately spouted some vile words. "What are you looking at? Sluts? Fuck off," sneered the brick-faced man, spitting on the ground. Meng Qi's expression changed, not because she was angry, but because she felt something bad was about to happen. Don't. Long Chen's gaze was cold as a drop of his blood landed on his badge. The sound of a bell resounded throughout the Xintian Dao sect. He had initiated a life and death challenge. Long Chen, Meng Qi looked at Long Chen with a grateful expression. Long Chen could laugh off people insulting him, but now that someone had insulted her, it was equivalent to touching his reverse scale. Long Chen immediately became a god of killing. "Oh, you're courting death." The brick-faced man was enraged and startled, not expecting Long Chen to be so direct. Furthermore, Long Chen was looking at him indifferently as if he were a corpse. There wasn't the slightest emotion in his eyes. Looking at Long Chen's expression, the brick-faced man actually felt a kind of fear appear in his heart. Who initiated the life and death challenge? Suddenly, an icy shout rang out, and one of the protective elders of Treasure Gem Island came out. Disciple challenged this senior disciple. "There is no rest until death between us. Please give your consent, elder," said Long Chen coldly. When the elder saw that it was Long Chen, his pupils shrank. He clearly recognized this figure that had almost turned the Xintian Dao sect on its head. He felt a headache coming on. "Do you accept the challenge?" Having recognized Long Chen, he didn't bother trying to change his mind. If he ever listened to others, he wouldn't be called Long Chen. He directly turned to the brick-faced man. "Since he wants to die, I'll help him out." "Disciple accepts," sneered the brick-faced man. A ruthless and sinister light appeared in his eyes. The elder was silent for a while, seeming to wait for something. Then he said, "The challenge is accepted. The life and death battle will begin 2 hours from now." After saying that, he left. Long Chen and the other person had a bright rune appear on their badges as proof of their imminent battle. They only had 2 hours to prepare. Long Chen, prepare a good coffin for yourself. And don't worry, I'll look after your woman for you, ha-dash, pow. The brick-faced man had only just finished speaking when a hand slapped across his face. A huge explosion sound rang out, and his head almost exploded. All his teeth flew out in a beautiful arc, stunning all the people watching. The brick-faced man coughed up blood. That slap caused his face to cave in, making him look extremely bizarre now. Courting death. The brick-faced man roared and his spiritual yuan erupted. The pressure of the late Foundation forging realm appeared, causing space to become heavy. Who dares to be so unbridled in Treasure Gem Island? The elder that had just left returned, shouting, "Do you too want to be punished? What's going on?" He was going too fast and bumped into my hand. "If you don't believe me, ask him," said Long Chen indifferently. It was the same excuse, and this elder couldn't bear it. This was exactly how Long Chen had slipped out of his punishment last time. "Long Chen, I admit defeat for now. But in 2 hours, I'll take your life," said the brick-faced man, clenching his teeth. Except he had forgotten that he had no teeth now. That senior disciple left with a belly full of fire, while Long Chen and Meng Qi also took off. After they left, the people watching the fun also scattered. They called over their friends and gathered at the life and death stage. There would be a good show to watch now. In the beginning, people had been flabbergasted to hear that bell. It was very rare for core disciples to fight life and death battles between them. The newcomers had only gone through such a thing once. Now they asked around and learned that it was Long Chen who had once more initiated a life and death battle. Hearing that it was initiated by Long Chen and that he was challenging a senior disciple who had just advanced to become a rank 6 celestial, all of them were shocked. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen really is lively. Let's go cheer him on. We definitely have to cheer for him. He's the pride of our outer sect. Although the life and death stage was in the inner sect, even outer sect disciples could go watch. Countless disciples flocked over like a tide. What? Boss initiated a life and death challenge? Fuck, what are you still waiting for? Look after our home? What's the point? Who dares to come and steal our stuff? Quick, quick, the faster brothers, go hold a spot for us. The Dragonblood Legion quickly rushed over, not even leaving a single person behind on Crouching Dragon Mountain. All their important valuables were on them already, so there was no need to worry about thievery. In the Elder Hall, the various elders were looking at each other speechlessly. They were in the palace, looking at the sea of people outside the life and death stage. Long Chen really is hardworking. He doesn't waste a single moment. Li Changfeng bitterly shook his head. It goes without saying that after he arrived, the Xiantian Dao sect has become livelier. Other elders also bitterly smiled. How could it not be lively? In just this short time, how much trouble had Long Chen caused? Furthermore, each matter was so huge that it was frightening. But Long Chen did it so naturally and calmly, and he didn't do it one by one. No, the trouble he caused came in an unending flood. The matter inside the infernal devil abyss was a secret known only to Long Chen and the Xian Master. The others thought that the sect had activated the stronghold to kill the devil beasts, and so the Xiantian Dao sect would have to enter a time of calm to recuperate. But the peace had only lasted for a few days before Long Chen broke it. No matter how people put it, Long Chen was on the side of the Elder Hall, and so they had to look after him. That was what gave these elders the biggest headache. Long Chen challenged the rank 6 celestial Luo Qingfang? Is he trying to lose? In truth, the shadow of the law enforcement hall is behind this. Rather than saying Long Chen is causing trouble, it's more accurate to say that they are intentionally finding trouble for him. Yes, although he's strong, his brains go out the window when his reverse scale is touched. No matter how obvious the trap is, he just jumps right in. He only just reached Foundation forging and can't even count as having reached the first heaven stage. Even though Luo Qingfang only just underwent the Heavenly Tower blessing to advance to the 6th rank, there's no way Long Chen can beat him when he's already reached the 7th heaven stage of foundation forging. The Elder Hall was worried. They didn't have a favorable opinion of Long Chen's odds. However, the Xian Dao sect had seen his power, and they trusted the Xian master wouldn't allow such a talented person to be killed. But even if he kept his life, what about his undefeatable Dao? Once defeated, his Dao heart might directly crumble. The Elder Hall master said, "All of you have been fooled. Although Long Chen's weakness is obvious, he isn't a fool. He has his own plans. Furthermore, don't look down on him. Even if Long Chen can't beat Luo Qingfang, it won't be so easy for Luo Qingfang to beat Long Chen. Most importantly, Long Chen has an almost berserk thirst for battle based on his confidence in never being defeated. Once that's summoned, Luo Qingfang will probably reveal an opening due to the distraction, and so the chance of him dying is actually quite high." Now that the Elder Hall master said this, the others recalled the truth. Long Chen's most terrifying aspect was precisely his manner of fighting, which was almost suicidal. When Long Chen put his life on the line to fight, he was frighteningly calm. If a person was intimidated by that, it was very easy for them to lose their life right there and then. While the Elder Hall was busy discussing this, within the Law Enforcement Hall, the demoted Vice Hall Master Luo Fan was smiling. "Have you messaged Luo Qingfang?" asked Luo Fan. "He's already been told to immediately use his full power to kill Long Chen within 3 moves. Killing him in 1 move would be best," laughed one of the elders by his side. This person was also a Vice Hall Master. He had always been Luo Fan's trusted aide. "But Long Chen must die, or there'll be no way for me to dispel the hatred in my heart," said Luo Fan sinisterly. The elder didn't say anything. Looking at Luo Fan's back, his mouth curled into a faint smile. But it quickly disappeared. All the large departments were putting their attention on the life and death stage. They couldn't understand who had approved this unfair battle. Was it the Tower Department head? Or the Xian Master? While the entire Xian Dao sect was rattled, Long Chen was slowly walking around with Meng Qi. Although they were also going toward the life and death stage, their footsteps were very slow and easy, as if they were just taking a stroll. "How assured do you feel?" After a long while, Meng Qi finally voiced her concern. "I have no assurance." Long Chen shook his head. "You?" Meng Qi's expression changed. "Because I have no need for such a thing," continued Long Chen. "Stop taking such a big breath while you talk," rebuked Meng Qi. "He dared to curse my woman? This time, I'll give that pack of idiots a real lesson. I'll make it so they finally feel pain, or they'll continue trying to provoke me." "A housefly isn't dangerous, but it's very irritating," said Long Chen. "Long Chen, thank you." Meng Qi held Long Chen's arm and leaned her head against his shoulder. She had a blessed smile on her face. The feeling of being protected was a good one, especially when it was from the man you liked. "Meng Qi, there's no one around right now. Why don't we test the temperature in each other's mouths?" Long Chen looked around, and seeing there was no one around, he probed her attitude. "No, definitely not." Meng Qi turned away bashfully, but she followed it up with, "Once you win and we go home, we can talk about it more then." Toward the end, her voice was as quiet as a mosquito's and even her neck was red. "Haha, you said it, not me." "I'm looking forward to it," said Long Chen with great anticipation. It had been a long time since he had tested her temperature. Meng Qi blushed but didn't run away. She bravely nodded her head, making Long Chen even more delighted. He had an urge to start the battle right now. When Long Chen reached the life and death stage, the sea of people around it immediately erupted into an uproar. Victory for Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen. Victory for Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen. Victory for Senior Apprentice Brother Long Chen. Long Chen saw millions of disciples standing around the life and death stage. They immediately erupted into loud cheering that was like the sound of a raging tsunami, with each wave louder than the last. "Hee hee, see, I'm pretty popular." Long Chen smiled toward Meng Qi as he looked at these cheering disciples who were shouting so loud that their faces turned red. 99% of these millions of disciples were from the outer sect. Most of the inner sect disciples were in the Xiantian Tower comprehending the Xiantian catalog. Furthermore, Long Chen's fame was the greatest in the outer sect. He was a godlike existence who had looked after them. These outer sect disciples cheered the loudest. Some people broke their throats just to make their voices louder. Shut up. It is forbidden to make a ruckus in front of the life and death stage. Suddenly, a cold shout rang out, shaking all their eardrums and making their heads feel like they would split. The cheering of the disciples was silenced as if severed by a blade. A group of people walked over grandly. They were the previous generation's experts, with the person at the front being Gao Xian. Behind him were dozens of experts. The person who had told the outer sect disciples to shut up was one of them. The majority of the outer sect disciples were only at C expansion, while this person was a rank 6 celestial. His powerful pressure almost injured all of them. Idiot, who are you to tell us to shut up? Is this your home? Don't bully others to show off. Just at this moment, a man jumped out of the crowd to curse at him. This person was precisely Guoran. Guoran had only just come out of the Xiantian catalog when he heard that Long Chen was about to fight a life and death battle against someone. If he didn't come, he wouldn't be Guoran. If I want to talk here, if I want to curse people here, what can you do? Bite me? Said Guoran disdainfully. Guoran, you aren't cursing a person, but a dog. A dog who can walk on its hind legs, corrected Long Chen. Hee, boss is right, laughed Guoran, acting like he accepted his mistake. Everyone was deathly silent now. At first, these outer sect disciples had just come to cheer for Long Chen. But now they realized that what was going on was that Long Chen was going against the previous generation's top expert, Gao Xian. Long Chen was already the strongest expert of the new generation. Now that he had advanced to foundation forging, was he planning on immediately going against the previous generation's Gao Xianyang? Gao Xianyang's expression sank and a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He said, "Fighting with words only shows how childish you are. With death at your door, you still dare to spout such wild words? What foolishness! We came over to admire the marvelous scene of your death. In other words, you came here to watch the fun? So then, what right do you have to tell others to be quiet? You came here to spout your shit, so why can't others speak? Do you think you're the Xian master? I don't mind people being posers, but I won't allow anyone to be more of a poser than me," cursed Guoran. Brothers, what is our slogan? Other than the Dragonblood Legion, posers need to be beaten. Although only a few hundred members of the Dragonblood Legion had come, they still cheered Guoran on. Did you hear? In the future, if you want to be a poser, you have to come and ask the permission of the Dragonblood Legion. You need to get your posing credentials first before you get to pose, understand, idiot? Demanded Guoran. You're all courting death, roared Gao Xianyang. The entire land shook because of his voice. He seemed just like a provoked lion. With Gao Xianyang's status, he should disdain quibbling with Guoran. But Guoran's ability to infuriate others had reached the realm of being able to infuriate him with just a few words thanks to Long Chen's teachings. With a piece of shit like you right here, why would I need to find more? Guoran shrugged indifferently. Gao Xianyang's eyes were about to spit flames. If it wasn't against the rules to attack people here, he'd have long since crushed Guoran. Suddenly, a huge barrier appeared around the life and death stage. It was like a square case, covering the stage completely. The runes on the stage lit up, and in front of everyone's stunned eyes, the bricks on the stage disappeared, replaced by huge blocks of rock. These rocks all had a huge rune on the surface, and the runes all linked together, forming an incredibly firm and seamless body over the stage. It's the martial stage for kings. The senior disciples involuntarily let out startled cries. The heavy aura that now came from the martial stage made it hard for them to breathe. This was the stage used only for kings. Long Chen, we've come to cheer for you. At this moment, Su Mo and Mu Qingxian led another group of people over. Has this insignificant matter troubled both of you, senior apprentice brother Su Mo and senior apprentice brother Qingxian? For you to have to personally come over makes me embarrassed, laughed Long Chen. This is an insignificant matter? I don't know what to say to you. Luo Qingfang is powerful, so don't be careless, warned Mu Qingxian. I trust Long Chen. There definitely won't be any problems. Compared to Mu Qingxian, Su Mo had much more trust in Long Chen. He patted Long Chen on the shoulder and said, if you have the chance, give them a fierce blow. They've been irritatingly arrogant these past few years. I can't beat Gao Xianyang, and the others don't dare to fight me, so I've never had the chance. Work hard, Long Chen. No problem. Long Chen smiled slightly. It's almost time. Where is Luo Qingfang? Su Mo frowned. According to reason, he should have come earlier. However, no matter where Luo Qingfang was, as long as the martial stage was activated, if he was within the range of the Shintian Dao sect, he would be automatically transported over. The martial stage is about to be activated. Make your preparations and don't be careless. We'll pray for your victory, said Mu Qingxian upon seeing that the martial stage's barrier was growing brighter and brighter. Hee, have faith, senior apprentice Sister Qingxian, laughed Long Chen. Suddenly his badge lit up and he was transported onto the martial stage. At the same time as he landed on the martial stage, a figure appeared in front of him. Luo Qingfang had also arrived. Cheering once more erupted. Gua Rant's loud voice rang out over the crowd, victory for boss. The Dragon Blood Legion echoed his cheering, and then the outer sect disciples also followed. Their loud voices rang out in waves once more. Gao Xianyang and the others' expressions sank. They didn't dare to tell them all to shut up again, but hearing the disciples cheering for Long Chen irritated them. Meng Qi walked over to stand with Mu Qingxian. Seeing this many people passionately cheering for that figure on the martial stage, she was filled with pride. Luo Qingfang's face had already healed. He had returned to his brick-faced appearance, and his teeth had grown out again. Not only that, but the energy fluctuations coming off his body also caused the space around him to tremble. Oh, you're doping? Long Chen looked at Luo Qingfang with a bit of surprise. Although the people on the martial stage couldn't hear the outside world's voices, the sounds inside were clearly transmitted to the people outside. Doping? All the disciples were startled, not quite understanding the situation. This is... Yes, it should be the Black Tiger Yang explosion pill. So, you felt so weak that you decided to take medicine in advance? Long Chen looked over Luo Qingfang for a moment and easily recognized what medicinal pill he had consumed. That was a pill that would allow Luo Qingfang to unleash explosive power for a short period of time. What? How can he be so shameless? People began to roar furiously over this despicable act. Shut up, what do you know? Long Chen is just trying to slander others, roared one of the disciples beside Gao Xianyang. Fuck you, our boss disdains slandering others. Do you think we're as despicable as you? The Dragon Blood Legion was infuriated and cursed back. They looked like they might start killing if that person retorted. Exactly, senior apprentice brother Long Chen is an open and candid person, while you petty people are all capable of such a thing. They think that since they're so despicable, others are as well. How laughable. In any case, we'll believe senior apprentice brother Long Chen. What he says is the truth. That fellow definitely doped. That person's attempt to quiet them ended up provoking more fury. Everyone's spears pointed toward him. That person only had one mouth, and he was facing the roaring of millions of people. The veins on his forehead bulged, but he didn't say anything. Long Chen's words caused Luo Qingfang to feel a burst of guilt. He truly had taken medicine. Originally, he hadn't wanted to, because he was confident in being able to kill Long Chen. But the higher-ups had ordered him to take it and kill Long Chen within 3 moves. It was best if he could take Long Chen's life in just 1 move without giving him any chance to retaliate. So he had had no choice but to dope. Now that he had been exposed by Long Chen, he was embarrassed and enraged. His aura rose and 6 colored runes appeared around him. The martial stage's barrier began to shudder from his aura. Long Chen, today you'll definitely die. Even once I kill you, I won't be able to obtain any glory. But let me say it again, once you die, I'll help you look after your woman. Luo Qingfang smiled sinisterly and shot forward. His 6-colored runes formed a pair of huge wings, and he was like a meteor. At the same time, he unleashed a punch. His fist had runes circulating over it, and people were horrified to see that wherever that fist went, cracks would appear in space. This was an extremely terrifying attack. Luo Qingfang had instantly unleashed all his power to kill Long Chen in one blow. In the face of such a terrifying fist, Long Chen unhurriedly raised his own hand. His 108,000 acupuncture points shook slightly, and majestic energy erupted like a volcano. Death sounds like shit. What shocked everyone was that Long Chen didn't try to dodge that terrifying punch. He simply raised a single hand. Truly courting death. One of the experts behind Gao Xiaoyang sneered. He could already see the scene of Long Chen exploding on contact. Even Mu Qingxian and Su Mo were shocked. Just what was Long Chen thinking? This attack was so powerful that even Su Mo would have to use his full power to meet it. Boom! An explosive sound erupted. People could clearly see huge spatial fluctuations originating from where their fist and palm connected. There were countless spatial cracks caused by those fluctuations. When the fluctuations faded, everyone was stunned to see Long Chen still standing in his original position. He hadn't moved at all. One of his hands was behind his back, and he was like an immovable mountain. Luo Qingfang's terrifying attack was only able to cause Long Chen's hair to blow back slightly. This scene made everyone suck in a cold gasp. Gao Xianyang's expression changed. In fact, the expressions of everyone, including the elders and hall masters, changed. Just what kind of power is this? The Elder Hall's elders were staring in shock. They were unable to tell where Long Chen's power was coming from. Everyone could see that Long Chen hadn't activated any magical art or battle skill. He had relied purely on the power of his physical body to easily receive this terrifying attack. Luo Qingfang was also shocked. It had to be known that this attack was one powered by the medicinal pill he had previously consumed. It was twice as strong as it normally would be, and it was so powerful it would be enough to easily kill any other experts in the same realm as him. However, this attack was ineffective against Long Chen. Furthermore, Long Chen's hand was tightly clenching his fist. He tried a couple of times but was actually unable to pull it away. Everyone was deathly silent now. Even Guoran and the Dragonblood Legion were dumbfounded. Although they had practically blind trust and worship in Long Chen, and he was undefeatable in their minds, they still hadn't expected Long Chen to receive such a powerful attack so easily. This is all your power? Are you trying to make me laugh? Long Chen shook his head. Bastard, don't be so pleased. Bloodline spirit activation. Luo Qingfang roared and his blood qi erupted. A blood-colored figure appeared behind him. When it appeared, the martial stage quivered. He activated his spirit blood already. Has he really been forced to this point? All the foundation forging experts were stunned. All of them knew that activating one's spirit blood could increase one's power, but it came at a price. Fully activating one's spirit blood might increase their power immensely, but after the battle, they would enter a state of weakness. No one was willing to do such a thing unless they were forced to. Furthermore, Luo Qingfang hadn't just activated his spirit blood. He was using all his power. That meant he had been forced to the point of despair. This discovery shocked everyone. Just an ordinary exchange had caused Luo Qingfang to unleash all his trump cards. Perhaps the battle was more complicated than what appeared on the outside. Scram! Luo Qingfang shouted and a fierce energy smashed into Long Chen's extended hand. Boom! Long Chen's long hair blew back, but his body didn't even take half a step back. His hand was still tightly clenching Luo Qingfang's fist, and he didn't even blink an eye. Impossible! Bastard die! A trace of terror finally appeared in Luo Qingfang's eyes. He found that no matter what he tried, he was unable to rattle Long Chen in the slightest. A bad feeling rose in his heart. Suddenly, light appeared on his leg and he sent a kick at Long Chen's abdomen. Luo Qingfang was finally afraid. The people outside might not be able to tell, but he had already used up all his power. That made him think of a very bad consequence. Long Chen shook his head once more. Since you've used up all your skills, goodbye. Just as Luo Qingfang's kick was about to reach him, Long Chen increased the power in his hand. He raised Luo Qingfang into the air and then smashed him into the ground. Bang! Blood mist filled the martial stage. Luo Qingfang was killed just like that. The ground was too hard. Its hardness was such that even kings would be unable to damage it. And so Luo Qingfang was blown apart. Half an arm was tossed to the ground by Long Chen. That was the only thing to testify that Luo Qingfang had ever existed in this world. The sound of that arm landing on the martial stage wasn't loud, and yet it was like a hammer smashing into the weakest parts of people's hearts. Everyone was silent. Even the Elder Hall and Law Enforcement Hall's elders were silent. The hall masters, pavilion masters, palace masters, everyone was silent. One-shot instant kill, and the easiest possible one-shot instant kill. It was like a frog had provoked someone, been caught, and then smashed onto the ground. Long Chen was also surprised as he tossed aside the arm. It seemed he had underestimated the power of his 108,000 original runes. Not only was Luo Qingfang's body destroyed, but Long Chen could also sense that in that instant, even his soul had been sealed in his body, destroyed along with his body. The secrets behind the 9-star Hegemon body art are truly immense. What I know is probably just the tip of the iceberg, sighed Long Chen inside. However, the stronger it was, the more worried he became. He felt like he was in a huge whirlpool, helplessly struggling. When Luo Qingfang was killed, a new heavenly Dao fruit appeared on the tree in Long Chen's primal chaos space. It was a rank 6 heavenly Dao fruit. After advancing to foundation forging, not only had the primal chaos space once more expanded to 300,000 miles, but even the heavenly Dao tree had grown. The heavenly Dao tree was at the core of the primal chaos space, which was the center of the black soil. It was now 3,000 meters tall with many branches. However, Long Chen wasn't able to sense any life from it, nor was he able to extract energy from it to heal. Long Chen still knew very little about it. Long Chen was transported off the martial stage, rousing him from his thoughts. He decided not to think too much about it. He would have to take things step by step. Boss, you really are unrivaled. Guoran ran over, excitedly shouting. He found that Long Chen was becoming more and more monstrous. Congratulations. Su Mo and Mu Qingxian also came over. But their expressions were a bit unnatural. They still hadn't recovered from their shock. Long Chen was a monster, an unfathomable monster with limitless potential. Su Mo and Mu Qingxian had personally witnessed his growth. It had only just been over half a year, but he was already so terrifying. At this time, Long Chen just happened to see an icy face. He called out to the departing Gao Xianyang, I don't like killing people, so don't make me kill more. A single victory doesn't mean you'll win every time. Luck won't be on your side forever. Next time, the person to die might be you, replied Gao Xianyang icily. Originally, the plan had been so perfect. They had finally had a chance to eliminate Long Chen. However, they hadn't expected such a huge mishap to occur. Long Chen's combat power was actually so terrifying. Even Gao Xianyang felt immense pressure. He sensed a large threat from Long Chen that made him very uneasy. I'm just warning you. After all, life is sacred, so I have to at least give you a warning. But if you really don't mind leaving this world, I won't mind sending you to a different one. If you want a free ticket for crossing the river of reincarnation, do your best to insult me and my people, said Long Chen indifferently. His words caused Gao Xianyang's heart to shake. Long Chen's meaning was very clear. If anyone wanted to pick a quarrel with him, insulting Meng Qi like Luo Qingfang, he wouldn't hesitate to initiate a life and death challenge. This was a warning as well as a promise. He was clearly telling everyone, if you want to die, come. Long Chen returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain. Meng Qi accompanied him and then, red-faced, gave him a kiss. It could count as fulfilling her previous promise. But when Long Chen became too engrossed in his feelings, and his hands began to grow disobedient, Meng Qi stopped him. The most awkward thing was that it was at this moment that Qin Yu arrived. Oh, Sister Qingyu, how coincidental. Long Chen laughed, breaking the awkward atmosphere. Meng Qi didn't dare to raise her head. Qingyu directly acted like she hadn't seen anything and said, Qian Duo says that many of the pills have sold out in the outer sect, and the rest are about to run out. He suggests raising the price. After all, our pills are more effective and cheaper than the 10,000 pill hulls. We can get more profit and avoid running out of stock so fast. Don't raise the price. That would affect our reputation. If we want long-term growth, reputation is very important. Tell him that I have a few days now to refine more pills. The sold-out pills will quickly be restocked, said Long Chen. Qingyu nodded and left. After she was gone, Meng Qi viciously pinched Long Chen. It was all his fault that she had been embarrassed. Long Chen tried to continue where they left off, but no matter what he said, Meng Qi refused. She directly ran off into seclusion. And so Long Chen called out Hualong to refine pills. Although they weren't lacking points now, if you started something, you should finish it. He couldn't just abandon the outer sect disciples after using them. Fortunately, Hualong could refine pills on its own, and could use 8 pill furnaces at the same time. Just one day of alchemy was enough to keep them stocked for a month. Furthermore, the points they obtained basically had no manufacturing costs. It was purely profit. After one day of alchemy and refining all kinds of pills, he handed them to Qian Duo. After giving him a few instructions, Long Chen went to the 10,000 pill hall. This was Long Chen's third trip to the 10,000 pill hall. The one attending him was still that maiden. She was extremely polite, but she always maintained a certain distance from him. I came to buy some earth flames, said Long Chen. We have a total of 7 earth flame seeds here. They are, she gave a quick introduction of their wares. Earth flame seeds referred to earth flames whose consciousnesses were erased, leaving behind only their core energy. Other people could control and raise them. Are there no earth flame beasts? Asked Long Chen. Although earth flame seeds were decent, they weren't what Long Chen needed. He wanted earth flame beasts that Hualong could directly devour. That way its power would increase faster. If he used earth flame seeds, it would require a long time to raise them, and he didn't want to wait. We had some before, but now we don't, she said with a strange expression. What was that supposed to mean? Looking at her odd expression, he suddenly asked, it couldn't be that the Dao sect only had those 2 earth flame beasts? Long Chen's Hualong had devoured 4 earth flame beasts, and they had all come from K Xinyan. Devouring those earth flame beasts had allowed Hualong's power to skyrocket. Now that Long Chen had money, he wanted some more. Normally, earth flame beasts aren't very useful, because not just anyone has the ability to subdue them. Those 2 earth flame beasts were imprisoned by the Shentian Dao sect for a long time. For normal flame cultivators, earth flame seeds are better, she said. Long Chen thought about it and understood. Subduing an earth flame beast was very difficult, and the danger of a backlash was extremely high. Even if someone was willing to take the risk, they might not have the qualifications. On the other hand, earth flame seeds were most suitable for disciples. Although it took longer to raise one, it was safe, and controlling it would be easier. Then how many points do the earth flame seeds cost? Asked Long Chen. They cost more than the earth flame beasts, and they cost more the greater their ranking. The cheapest one is 15 million points, while the most expensive one is 80 million points, she said. Long Chen swore. That was even more expensive than a king item. But then thinking about it, the wealth an alchemist could make after they subdued an earth flame far surpassed the investment. It could just barely count as reasonable. Which one do you want? She asked. All of them, said Long Chen. In any case, there was no way to bargain over the price, so he couldn't be bothered to waste the time. For the moment, he had plenty of points, so he decided to just directly buy them all. Although those seeds weren't very useful, he could raise them like raising pigs. Once they were nice and fat, he could feed them to Hualong. All right, then the maiden immediately ordered someone to go get them. Wait a moment. Suddenly, an elder walked in. That person was the same one who had tried to stop him from buying the iron spruce oaks, the elder from the alchemy pavilion whose head Long Chen had almost lopped off. The 10,000 pill hall was the alchemy pavilion's business, and so it was naturally run by them. They had the authority to modify what medicines or items they sold. Old thing, is your neck itchy? Long Chen glared at him. He had guessed this matter would once more cause some waves. How arrogant, you dare to be rude to an elder? He raged. Do you think threatening me will work? I dared to cut off your head once, so what would I not dare to do? The Shen-Tian-Dao sect really has been too peaceful for idiots like you to appear. If you were on the battlefield, vermin like you wouldn't be able to survive even a single day. If you have something to say, say it, but if you give me some bullshit excuse like someone else reserved them, I won't mind slapping your face rotten. In front of that maiden's stunned gaze, Long Chen gently patted the elder's face. An icy killing intent appeared in Long Chen's eyes toward the end, one that made the elder immediately shiver. It was like a death god had suddenly appeared before him, and he was frozen in place. He felt like a blade of death was already pressed against his shoulder. If he moved, his head would immediately fly. So even though Long Chen touched his face, he didn't dare to move. This elder had relied on alchemy since childhood and had never gone onto the battlefield. As soon as Long Chen released his killing intent, he couldn't bear it. What do you think you're doing? I'm warning you. Don't do anything crazy. He cried, his voice shuddering. It's not what I'm doing but what you're doing, said Long Chen. The people working in the 10,000 pill hall were all dumbfounded. This was their first time seeing a disciple pat an elder on the face while speaking to one. There is a clear clause in the rules. Alchemy disciples can only possess one earth flame. After buying one, they can't buy more, whispered the elder nervously. He wished he could talk louder, but he wasn't able to. Senior apprentice brother, don't make things hard on Elder Sunday. This truly is one of the rules. I'm sorry, but I just forgot about it, wasting your time. Please don't make things hard on me, implored the maiden. Long Chen looked at her. Although she was being sincere, Long Chen's mouth curled. It was once more this routine. She clearly knew that he wouldn't do anything to her, and so she intentionally put the blame on herself. After being helped out, the elder would definitely form a good opinion of her, and her chance of being promoted would increase. However, she had won. Long Chen truly did recall that there seemed to be such a rule. Alchemy disciples could not possess two kinds of earth flames at once. To alchemists, an earth flame was like their life. This rule had been created to avoid wasting resources. Fine, forgive disciple for his rudeness. However, my temper isn't good. I get emotional easily, and when I get emotional, I get impulsive. When I get impulsive, well, you know what happens. It's normally accompanied by the deaths of a bunch of idiots in the Shen-Tian-Dao sect. It has happened several times, and although quite a few idiots are gone, I'm still standing tall. So I'd advise you to use your brain instead of carelessly being used as a scapegoat. Long Chen patted the elder on the shoulder before leaving. Once Long Chen left, the elder and disciples still didn't dare to make a sound for a long time. Finally, after his expression changed several times, the elder sighed and left. He was still terrified. Long Chen was right. The number of people that had targeted him was as high as the number of people that had died in the end. Even after all the trouble he had caused, Long Chen was still alive and well. Now he had learned his lesson. He told the 10,000 pill hall's disciples to keep this matter secret, and he directly returned to the alchemy pavilion to enter seclusion. He had another elder temporarily take charge of the 10,000 pill hall. Long Chen had gained nothing from his trip to the 10,000 pill hall. But when he returned to Crouching Dragon Mountain, he received a pleasant surprise. Brother Wenlong, you've come. Long Chen was delighted to see Zheng Wenlong. Qian Duo was currently talking to him. Congratulations on advancing to the Foundation Forging realm. I even heard you're in a league of your own in the Shen-Tian-Dao sect now. Zheng Wenlong laughed and cupped his fists toward Long Chen. You're making fun of me, aren't you? You've already advanced to the second heaven stage of Foundation Forging. Don't you think this slap is a bit too resounding? Long Chen was surprised to see that Zheng Wenlong had advanced even faster than himself. Brother Long must be unaware. But once the Huayun sect disciples reach foundation forging, they will no longer have to rely on cultivating to advance. Our cultivation base will rapidly advance on its own, but our actual combat power will be very weak, said Zheng Wenlong. Why is that? Long Chen was stunned. Previously, I've mentioned that all the Huayun sect's disciples are the most devout followers of the Grand Wealth God. Once we reach the foundation forging realm, our accumulated faith energy will allow us to undergo a transformation. After receiving the blessing of the Wealth God, our cultivation bases will easily advance with no bottlenecks, but our actual combat power will drop precipitously in comparison to others in the same realm, explained Zheng Wenlong. The Wealth God? Faith energy? Long Chen's heart shook slightly. If there was such a thing as faith energy, then that meant the Wealth God was still alive. But why was it said that there were no gods or immortals in this world anymore? He thought of that woman who looked like Leng Yuan. The Shen master had confirmed that she was a god, one that came from another world. With all that had happened, Long Chen found that he understood less and less about the world. I'm sorry, Brother Long Chen, but since you aren't a follower of the Wealth God, it isn't convenient for me to tell you too much about the Wealth God, apologized Zheng Wenlong upon seeing Long Chen sink into thought. Zheng Wenlong was a devout follower of the Wealth God. He was extremely dedicated to his belief, and no matter how good his relationship was with Long Chen, he couldn't expose some things. No, I just thought of some other things. I'm not unhappy at all. Long Chen smiled. The two of them chatted. Long Chen had Qian Duo go get some simple refreshments. Drinking a few cups of tea, they had a long conversation. Last time, Zheng Wenlong hadn't even had time to sit before leaving. This time, Long Chen couldn't neglect his duty as the host. Zheng Wenlong was clearly more relaxed than last time. They finally had a chance to randomly talk, and Long Chen asked how his situation was over there. Zheng Wenlong bitterly smiled and said that he felt like he was about to die. He wished he could split himself into two people. But after this period of adapting, he had learned some tricks, as well as groomed some trusted aides to split the pressure. He was feeling much better. Long Chen couldn't help but feel that it was a bit funny. Their situations were actually a bit similar. When they first arrived in the Central Plains, everything was foreign, but after some tempering, they slowly got used to it. Speaking of which, do you have any new projects this time? Asked Long Chen. He knew that since Zheng Wenlong was so busy, for him to personally come, he had to have something important to discuss. Yes, there are some new projects to discuss. But before that, I need to tell you that the secret matter you asked me to handle is already taking shape, whispered Zheng Wenlong. Really? Long Chen was delighted. Long Chen was filled with delight. This news was far too important to him. They have currently established a base within the Grand Xia ancient nation. They're around here, said Zheng Wenlong as he gave Long Chen a map. The they that Zheng Wenlong was referring to was Yu Xiaoqian's race. Before departing the eastern wasteland, Long Chen had told Yu Xiaoqian to stealthily establish a base in the Central Plains and then use the Huayun sect to send him a message. Now she had finally done so. A weight fell from Long Chen's shoulders. He just wondered if Yu Xiaoqian had personally come to the Central Plains yet. Nevertheless, he couldn't leave the sect, but at least he could communicate with them through Zheng Wenlong. Other than that, I've come to give you another batch of materials that should be enough for you, said Zheng Wenlong. Long Chen gave him a thumbs up. This efficiency was truly amazing. Zheng Wenlong was very reliable, capable of handling everything perfectly. But it seems I don't have anything of value to give you this time. Long Chen found that he truly had nothing valuable he could give Zheng Wenlong. At most, the money he had given Zheng Wenlong in the beginning was only able to buy 1/10 of the materials he had requested. All his money was points in the Xiantian Dao sect, and that was useless outside the sect. It wasn't as if he could repay Zheng Wenlong in points. Don't worry, I'll give you the materials in advance. Right now, I have a big project I want to discuss with you, said Zheng Wenlong. A big project? How big? Asked Long Chen. Very big. Listen closely. Zheng Wenlong explained that his project revolved around a certain medicinal pill. It was an 8th tier pill, the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill. Just like the Bone Forging Realm's Bone Tempering Pills and the Sea Expansion Realm's Sea Merging Pills, this was a pill that had to be used in that realm. However, there were many variations of Bone Forging Pills and Sea Merging Pills, but the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill was the only main assistive cultivation pill used in the Foundation Forging Realm. The Foundation Forging Realm relied on absorbing heaven and earth's yuan spiritual energy. For Foundation Forging cultivators, the most precious thing was yuan spirit stones. However, the most primal and pure yuan spiritual energy in yuan spirit stones was not so easy to refine. Yuan spirit stones contain the essence of the laws when the world was first formed. It took a long time to refine that. Therefore, you needed to use a kind of medicinal pill to help you refine the yuan spiritual energy. The Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill was the only pill of its kind. It helped cultivators refine yuan spiritual energy, and it had no side effects. All the large sects used to have large stocks of this pill. Although its price was high, it was still within the realm that cultivators could afford. However, things had changed this year. A few months ago, the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill had suddenly shot up in price. It was now 10 times more expensive. Just as many cultivators were puzzled by this, a piece of news spread throughout the cultivation world. Devil Spirit Mountain had suddenly become enshrouded in mist, and its entrance was now sealed. Anyone who tried to enter would die. When Long Chen asked what Devil Spirit Mountain was, Zheng Wenlong told him it was one of the Martial Heaven Continent's 7 great danger zones. It was said it was the entrance to the Devil world. But no devil life forms had ever come out of there. In fact, not only had no devil creatures ever been sighted there, but people had also seen a scene of an immortal wonderland. Many people had even heard immortal music, music that could increase their cultivation base just by listening to it. Some of them had even instantly broken through their bottlenecks. So Devil Spirit Mountain was an extremely strange place. If you lingered around its entrance, there wasn't any danger. But if you entered deeper, you would never return. It was unknown how many experts had tried to unlock the secrets of Devil Spirit Mountain only to never return. There were many legends about it. There were beautiful ones and there were evil ones. No one could tell what the situation was exactly. But the number of experts that had disappeared in it were innumerable. Even kings would never return after entering. That was why it had been named one of the 7 great danger zones. It was the same as the Martial Heaven Searing. However, the surroundings of Devil Spirit Mountain were the habitat of an 8th-tier medicinal ingredient, the Spirit Connecting Grass. It was a very bizarre medicinal ingredient. On the surface, it looked like an ordinary grass. But its roots were like an octopus, and they freely wriggled and moved. If it was plucked, it would look like an octopus with a blade of grass growing out of it. When it encountered danger, it would even enter the ground to flee. This kind of spirit-connecting grass existed elsewhere in the Central Plains, but it was very rare and not found in large numbers. It would only flourish in the surroundings of Devil Spirit Mountain. It could be planted artificially, but it often withered and died before it matured. Within the Central Plains, 90% of the spirit-connecting grass came from Devil Spirit Mountain. This spirit-connecting grass was the main ingredient for the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill. Not that long ago, mist had suddenly covered Devil Spirit Mountain and its surroundings, completely sealing it. All those adventurers who had been gathering spirit-connecting grass around it had vanished. People had tried to approach the mist and investigate the situation, but they all mysteriously vanished. This mysterious, seemingly man-eating mist caused a huge disturbance. Of course, the price of the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill was impacted the most. Now its price had multiplied by 10 times, and it was still crazily soaring. Long Chen, this is a crisis for the entire continent. Without the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill, all Foundation Forging disciples will find their cultivation bases stagnant. Furthermore, half a month ago, I received news that Pill Valley is starting to make a move. I heard they've developed a pill that can replace the Foundation Heart Spirit Connecting Pill, said Zheng Wenlong gravely. Long Chen instantly understood. Although the Forging Heart Spirit Connecting Pill wasn't originally precious, the strange phenomenon that had occurred in Devil Spirit Mountain had cut off its supply. Now it was a pill everyone was fighting for. Even before, the supply hadn't quite met the demand. Now that the spirit-connecting grass could no longer be easily gathered, the supply of the pills had dropped by 10 times. Panic was ensuing, and no one dared to sell forging heart spirit-connecting pills any longer. Who knew when the mist surrounding the Devil Spirit Mountain would disappear? If it dissipated within 10 years, it wouldn't have too much of an effect on the Central Plains. But if it stayed for a century or even a millennium or longer, the forging heart spirit connecting pill would only continue growing more valuable. The cultivation world was currently in a panic over the forging heart spirit connecting pills. If Pill Valley could create another pill with the same effect, it would be a fatal blow to the Huayan sect. The Huayan sect was Pill Valley's sworn enemy. Pill Valley would definitely use this opportunity to force people who bought things from the Huayan sect to sever ties with them. If they didn't stop buying things from the Huayan sect, Pill Valley wouldn't sell them their pills. Knowing Pill Valley's methods, they definitely would take steps to avoid others figuring out the formula for their new pill. Then they would dominate the market. If they didn't cooperate with Pill Valley, many experts would find themselves stuck in the foundation forging realm for a long time. Then even geniuses would eventually become trash. It had to be known that foundation forging was already a slow and important process. It was the realm where a person's cultivation base advanced the slowest. The previous generation's disciples were such a case. They had arrived in the Xiantian Dao sect 10 years ago. Even these geniuses amongst geniuses had only just reached the late foundation forging realm. That was enough proof of how difficult it was to advance in the foundation forging realm. If Pill Valley properly used their new weapon, they could seriously injure the Huayan sect. There was even danger of this setback leading to a total collapse. In the end, the Huayan sect could be completely devoured, which was why Zheng Wenlong's expression was so grave. "Brother Long, you have to help me. This relates to the life and death of my Huayan sect." Zheng Wenlong's voice contained a trace of begging. This was an incredibly important matter to the Huayan sect. "A minor matter. I'll write up a formula for you." Long Chen smiled. This was truly a minor matter to him. Let alone one formula, he could easily give him 10 formulas. "Truly? Brother Long, you really are my lucky star, the blessing of the wealth god." "Good, Brother Long, I'll drink with you today." "No, I'll get completely drunk," cried Zheng Wenlong ecstatically. Zheng Wenlong had absolute trust in Long Chen. If he said that it was no problem, then it was definitely no problem. He felt like a boulder had been lifted from his heart. In truth, Zheng Wenlong had been extremely worried on his way to see Long Chen. If even Long Chen was powerless, then he wouldn't have any solution at all. Although this kind of matter should have been handled by the higher-ups, he and all the other disciples of the Huayan sect were followers of the wealth god. Each one of them felt the responsibility, and they treated the Huayan sect's matters as their matters. The fate of the Huayan sect was their fate. After drinking 3 cups, Long Chen directly wrote out a pill formula so that Zheng Wenlong could relax. And after thinking for a bit, he wrote another pill formula. The first pill formula has around the same effect as the forging heart spirit connecting pill. As for the latter, it is over 3 times more effective. My guess is that Pill Valley will try to act in the long view, so they will bring out a medicinal pill just slightly worse than the forging heart spirit connecting pill. Due to its lower effect, people will need more, and they'll be dependent. It'll be the same as the trick the pill tower pulled on the Eastern Wasteland's bone-tempering pills and how they intentionally cut its effect in half. I'm giving you 2 formulas, so leave the latter as a weapon. If they counterattack, you'll still have a way to return the blow. Zheng Wenlong carefully put away the pill formulas and nodded. Good idea. Did you want the Huayan sect to give you a direct price for these pill formulas, or? I'd rather take a cut of the future profits. That way it'll be a long-term collaboration. That's the way to make the most from my investment. Long Chen smiled. This time, your pill formulas aren't as simple as an investment. It has resolved an emergency situation for my Huayan sect. It won't be easy to calculate this debt. That's fine. Don't businessmen have a phrase about how they aren't afraid of debt? If there comes a day when the debts between us are truly cleared up, it will probably mean our friendship has also ended, said Long Chen. Haha, I didn't expect Brother Long Chun to speak such philosophical words. I'm amazed, chortled Zheng Wenlong. Come, the problem's resolved, and you aren't as busy as last time. Let's drink a bit more. I have a few things to discuss with you. The two of them drank until the next day. In the end, Zheng Wenlong was still worried, and he didn't dare to tarry too long, so he left. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.